So, thanks for coming. They once asked Charlie Chaplin, what is the secret of success? Do you know Charlie Chaplin? Somewhere. Okay. And he said 50% of your success, and you can write that down in your handbooks, is showing up at the right place at the right time. That's 50% of your success. Showing up at the right place at the right time. You want to know what the other 50% are? You don't want to know? Yes. Okay. Only 3 people want to know. Yes. What about the others? You want to know? Yes. Anyway, I'm going to tell you. Said the other 50% is enthusiasm. You have to actually be enthusiastic. Do you know what the word enthusiasm means? Does anybody speak English here?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Entheos. It means to be possessed or inspired by God. That is enthusiasm. Would you like to be possessed or inspired by God?
Yes.
Yes. Krishna Shakti Vinanahe Tarapavartan. It is Krishna's Shakti, Krishna's potency that is acting through the devotees. So, welcome to the 5-day graduate course on book distribution, outreach, preaching, and leadership. This course was devised in the mid-1990s by a group called the VTE, Vaishnava Training and Education, comprised senior leaders like His Holiness Jataka Maharaj, Sachinandan Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, and many, many of the other senior leaders. And we brainstormed for a very long time all the components that actually make up book distribution and outreach. And then we formatted it and we packaged it in a compact 5-day course. Now some of you may think, well, why am I sitting here for 5 days? I could just be out on the street distributing books, right? Do you ever think like that? Why am I sitting here? Okay, I'm answering your doubt, your question. Do you know that if you want to work in one of them fast food restaurants that are there all over the world, you have to go for a 2-week training course to learn how to make French fries? Yes. Or how to flip vegan burgers? 2-week course, okay? If you want to become any tradesman, you have to learn for 2 years or 3 years. You want to become a doctor, 5 years initial training. If you want to become a surgeon, it'll take you 10 years before you even put a knife on a person that's alive. 10 years. Now what we're going to train you in 5 days to do is to do open heart surgery on people. You're going to meet them on the street. You have to capture their attention. You have to make a connection. You have to get them to trust you, to actually open up to you. Because you will do anesthesia, you'll cut them open the heart, you take out all that bad stuff that's there, you put in Krishna, and then you close it up, and then you wake them up again, you know, and then you put them on the road, and they walk away feeling much better, much happier, much healthier than before. Now, you think 5 days enough to learn that? No. If you want to become expert at anything, it will take you 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours means 5 to 7 years full time. Anything you want to learn, 5 to 7 years. We have here experts of all different fields. How long did it take you to become good at what you're good at? At least 5 to 7 years. Am I right or am I right? Please say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I joined ISKCON in 1984 in Zurich, Switzerland, because I got a book of Prabhupada. And then I came to the temple and met devotees who were very different people than the people I used to meet. They were bright-faced, they were effulgent, they were very kind. They were giving me not only food, they were giving me time, they were giving me affection. They were answering every question I had, and every question I didn't have, they would also answer those. And they would give me gifts, you know. I was just a kid from school, 9th grader, who walked in the door. And just, you know, strange people giving me pictures and giving me things and, you know, not wanting anything. Then I saw people who I thought they were like saints. They were not walking on the floor. They were like literally floating. And the only thing in my mind was, how can I become like you? That was the only thing in my mind. I wanted to know, how can I become like you? So that's the goal of this course. We would like you to imbibe some of these points, then apply them, and then share them with others. So, 5 days is a very short time. It's only 6 hours per day. We're going to go from 10:30 to 1:30, and from 3:30 to 6:30 with a lunch break. There is free lunch downstairs. Did I hear Haribol? So if you have lunch plans, they just got canceled, okay? You're eating free lunch here. Alright? And it's GBC Prasad, so it's not bad. It's as good as it gets. What I'd like you to do right now is, we're going to go around the room, and you're going to introduce yourself by stating your name, where you're from, and one expectation of the course. Something that you came here to learn or to experience or to observe. Is it clear?
Yes.
Name, place where you're from, and one expectation. We need a scribe here who has a legible handwriting. Can we have a volunteer? Somebody? Okay, please. And you can make one sentence with your expectation, or it can also just be one word or one emotion. And we'll start over here with our senior. Haribol.
Gaurav Papa Shradas from Malaysia. My expectation is to be teacher, loving Guru.
Okay. Thank you. Don't worry about it.
Hare Krishna, my name is Manuel, also from Switzerland, from Zurich. And
Is this mic working? Where are our tech support people? Okay, never mind. This is India, so you know everything's available, but nothing works. The land that has exported more engineers and, you know, smart people into the world than any other country on the planet. But if you're here, you have to adjust to the India factor. Your expectation?
my expectation is also to get fire for book distribution and
Okay, fire.
fire to others, because in the moment it's very difficult in Switzerland, not as was before. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Warren from Australia.
Trisha, this mic is not working.
Just sort of want to learn how to inspire people.
Okay. Inspire people. Batteries are here. Thank you. Welcome.
Lakshman Das from Italy, and I just want to understand more what I'm doing. Distribution.
Okay, Lakshman from Italy. Yeah. Deepen understanding. Yeah, understanding. Thank you. Is that one working?
Yeah, it will work.
Just speak loud. I will say.
Shah. My name is Pradeep Kumar from India, Cochin.
Cochin. Okay. Welcome.
I want to book distribution more at large scale.
Okay, large scale book distribution. Large scale book distribution. Hare Krishna, thank you.
I'm Chaitanya Chandra Das from Brazil. I came to associate a little bit with Nagila Prabhu and maybe learn something from
Alumni, former student, and teacher, so biggest distributor right now in books worldwide.
My name is Elaine. I'm from South Africa, and I find book distribution to be the most daunting thing. So I want to become more enthusiastic about.
So overcome.
Yes.
What do you want to overcome?
Overcome that. Listen. I'm shy and a little bit fearful about approaching people.
Okay, overcoming obstacles.
Yes, obstacles.
Overcome obstacles. Thank you. Go.
Hare Krishna, my name is Rajit Ravinasi and I'm from South Africa. I want to improve my teaching of book distribution.
Okay, thank you for joining us.
Hare Krishna, my name is Jamna Priya Ravidasi. I'm from Shanghai, China. My expectation is I can feel inspired by all of you, and also I can have study enthusiasm to distribute books and also learn the skills so that I can do it better.
Thank you. Enthusiasm, skills.
Hare Krishna. My name is Prema Rupini Madhavi Devidasi. I'm from Argentina and I expect to learn more about Sankirtan and to have your association and the Sankirtan Devotees Association also.
Anything else specific?
Association of Sankirtan
Okay,
Devotees.
association. Thank you.
My name is Yamuna from Mayapur. Just I want to get inspiration and come from.
Thank you. Go.
Hare Krishna, my name is Nilambari Radhadarshi. I want to learn about book distribution. I have never been out for book distribution.
Okay. Thank you for your honesty. There's 2 more spots here at the men's table. Somebody who's going to attend in 5 days wants to move up here. There's front row seats. Yep. One more available. 2 more available. Okay. Please speak. Camera's rolling. Yeah, by the way, this is all live broadcast from Mayapur TV, so anything you say can and will be used for your benefit, your internal credit. All right.
Myself, I'm from Delhi, India. So, I very much how this service pleases our Guru Parampara. I wanted to know about this, and also how throughout the world different devotees have different dedications, how they use different techniques in the service.
Okay, techniques. Thank you. Okay, name, where you're from, and expectation of the course. Please have a seat.
Rajananda Das, Florida. Further study and
something specific, tangible.
Yeah, it's fun.
Better job.
Yeah, better job.
Better persona.
Better persona.
More fun.
Yeah, I'm super better persona.
You're in the right place. Thanks for joining us.
Hare Krishna, I'm Mario Mokas, and from Beings of Florida, Krishna. And I'd like to reignite the spark from the distribution.
Reignite the spark.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of got into it, and I got out of it, and
okay.
headed back into it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start here, and then we'll go that way.
Hare Krishna, my name is Premanand Goldas. I am from Bangladesh. So my expectation is to see where firing devotees and so fire my head and also fire also others.
Okay, to teach others about Buddhism. Okay,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, I'm Rajni Krishna Chandradas from Bangladesh. I learned how
organ largely book distribution, and what's the secret?
Secrets. You want me to reveal the secrets? Are you ready to pay the price?
Yes.
Sure. Okay.
Hare Krishna, my name is Bhakta Pratham. I'm a full-time book distributor from New Zealand. And my expectation is to make book distribution my lifelong career after this.
Lifelong book distribution.
Hare Krishna, my name is Nandajeevan Krishna Das. I'm from Mayapur, and my expectations are to connect these teachings to my Guru teaching.
Okay. He's a teacher in Guru. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, my name is Dr. Blake, and I think I'm looking to learn some more practical techniques and all elements of book distribution.
Okay, whatever's already there, you don't have to write it again. Techniques are already there. Thank you. Yeah, don't double them up. Just, here you've got more space. Just fill this up. Thank you, Blake. Welcome. Next.
Hare Krishna, my name is Sanjesh Tiwari. I'm from Indore, India. My expectation from this course is to know how to approach the different variety of people.
Okay, deal with varieties of people. Thank you. Welcome.
Narad Kundadas from Gujarat. My expectation is fulfill of Prabhupada's dream. Every man be a conscious consciousness.
Okay.
By book distribution.
Jai Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I'm Rajendra Kumar Das from Colombia. And all the time I see that the more happy persons and more dancers and more beautiful person in Krishna consciousness is the Sankirtan guys. And for me, I wanna be part of this team of crazy guys, inspired guys, and fire-ups. And I'm coming because I wanna make service for these beautiful persons in the world of Sankirtan. And I'm coming because my first service is follow your instruction and come. I see you yesterday and you told me come, and I said yes, if you say, I make. That's it.
Okay. You're going to stay here for 5 days.
I might have high enough.
Hare Krishna. My name is Milagro Devidasi, raised in Mexico, live in America. And my goal with this course is to overcome my insecurities so I can talk to people. And I want to please Prabhupada and my Guru Maharaj.
Thank you for joining us.
Hare Krishna. My name is Yala Rosha, and my service was Sankirtan on my land. And my expectation is to, in this age, to be better in Sankirtan.
Hare Krishna. Welcome.
Hare Krishna, my name is Alex, I'm from Ukraine, in San Francisco. And I just want to learn how to be more productive in dealing with people and more efficient.
Okay. Welcome.
My name is Dima, I'm from Russia. My expectation is to take GBC Prasad, but to get power from the book for the book distribution.
To get
power.
Power. Okay. Welcome.
Hare Krishna, my name is Madhav Mohan Das. I am from Silicon Valley, and my expectation is to develop more conviction and distribution.
Okay. Thank you for joining us.
Hare Krishna, my name is Anakatan Vidas from Italy, and I would like to learn something more about book distribution on the streets and parking lot like that. New skills. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. My name is Nikar Das, Bosnia. I need more inspiration.
Okay. Welcome.
Hare Krishna, my name is Prema Rupa Madhavadas from Argentina. My expectation is to go deeper in the understanding of what is book distribution and understand more about our family business, book distribution.
Thank you. Before, this one.
Hare Krishna, my name is Bhaja Zach from Denver, Colorado. I would like you to just gain enthusiasm for going out to distribute those.
Thank you. And we got two more.
Hare Krishna, my name is Prema Harinandas. I coming from Croatia, but I live in London last 10 years. I want to learn how to become instrument to giving the mercy, and like this Prabhu says, how to do on the streets better.
Are you distributing prasadam in London?
Yes, I distribute prasadam.
I'm watching you.
Some people watching on YouTube, they're stopping me on the streets. Yes.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Next to you.
Hare Krishna, my name is Gopinath, and I'm from Bombay.
Expectations.
I want to enhance food distribution. I want to start doing distribution.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so this is our homework.
We got someone.
Which one? Oh. Sure, yes. Front. Excuse me. We've done everybody here.
Okay, yeah.
And last but not least, our scribe.
Hi, my name is Tosi. I'm from West Africa, and what I want to say, or what I want to learn from here is actually this.
Okay, it's already there. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So this is our homework. This is what you came for, and this is our mission for these 5 days to do this. Some people may think book distribution is a mundane activity, it's just selling stuff. You know, marketing, you heard of marketing?
Yes.
Yeah? Moving goods, selling things, you think it's an ordinary type of activity. Have you ever heard of the marketplace of the Holy Name?
Yes.
Yeah. Kodrum, Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Lord Nityananda, he opened the marketplace of the Holy Name. He had brokers, he had sellers, he had customers. What is the price for the Holy Name? Faith. Shraddhavan Janhe. So, that is the price we have to pay, faith. So, the question people have is, why should I trust you? Why should I trust you? Why should I believe you? What makes me believe that this book is going to help me and that it's going to benefit my life, and why should I give you any money? It's all about faith. So basically, you're selling faith. And how come you're so sure that this is actually going to work out for me? This is the topic what we're going to speak about. In the outside world, 80% of all the CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies come from sales. They're marketing people. And now they're running companies. In our GBC, there was meetings that just started today. More than 80% are book distributors. Because formerly everybody was a book distributor. Because Krishna is a book distributor, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda is a book distributor, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Prabhupada, he wrote these books, he printed them, and he distributed them, and he taught others how to distribute them. So what we're doing here in these 5 days is not to teach you how to sell ice cubes to Eskimos, or, you know, nice little cute lighters, you know, to kindergarten kids, or other types of stuff, no. What we're going to teach you in these 5 days is how to receive this gift and how to share it with others. Because if you don't have it, you can't give it. The first person you have to actually sell this thing to is yourselves truly. Because if you don't buy into it, you have very little chance of sharing it with others. To convince others is easy. It doesn't take that much. It's not so difficult. You just, you know, be a nice person and say a few nice things and make them feel good. And they'll buy anything you want to sell. But to convince this person, yourselves truly, not just once, not just twice, but to convince yourselves every day, successively for the rest of your life, this is a real job. This is a real challenge. That's where the struggle comes in. So that's what we're going to talk about, that's what we're going to discuss. And we hope to be able to give you a few pointers and some food for thought. As I mentioned earlier, this course was devised in the 1990s, and it has been one of the longest standing courses in ISKCON, besides the teacher training course. We've taught more than 100 teachers to teach this course. More than 3,000 or 4,000 devotees have already passed it. It is actually mandatory by GBC law. Anybody who wants to do full-time book distribution is required to take this course. It's like you want to work in a restaurant, you got to pass a course in food handling. Otherwise, you won't be allowed to work in a restaurant. In a similar way, if you want to interact with the public and represent this ISKCON institution by giving them Prabhupada's books, this is the course that you have to take. So, we feel very fortunate to be allowed to share this with others, and we're going to discuss a couple of housekeeping rules before we get started. First of all, I already mentioned the schedule, 10:30, 1:30, 3:30 to 6:30. There's going to be a 15-minute break in both of the blocks. There's 2 bathrooms here in the corridor. There's water on your table. We expect you to show up on time. I will guarantee you we will finish on time. There's a saying, if you can't be on time, at least be early. Okay? So, five days. What are we going to do in these 5 days? Today, we're just going to speak about ourselves, who we are, and all that kind of stuff. Identity and character of book distributors. And day 2, 3, and 4 are going to be about skills, techniques, and standards, how to actually distribute books. And day number 5 is going to be how can we go out and do this for a lifetime? How can we go out and teach others? How can we expand this mission unlimitedly? How do we go into a bright future? So that's the menu for the next 5 days. We'll get more into specifics. And you have all of this in your student handbooks. By the way, if you agree to show up tomorrow, then you can keep these and put your name on it. If not, if you think, I'm just going to check it out, then so what? Then, you have to decide. So, on page number 4, there's a few norms for classroom behavior that I would like to draw your attention upon. This is a classroom, and in this classroom, for this experiment, everybody's equal as students. So no special status. Nobody can say, oh, I'm the oldest guy, or I'm the smartest guy, or I'm the most funny guy, or the most beautiful guy. And therefore, what I say is true, and I can override, I can overrule others. Okay? So everybody's in this together as a group. And together as a group, we're trying to achieve these outcomes. Anyone's got a problem with that? If you have a problem with that, go see Dr. Alex there in the back. He'll explain it to you. Somebody like to read this out?
All contributions are valid and valued regardless. All contributions are valid and valued regardless of whether one agrees with them or not.
Can you give an example?
Yes. I guess if you have like a kind of either Krishna West or Krishna East idea of something.
Or Krishna South or Krishna North or something in between.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because the world's a big place and we can accommodate all the 10 directions. Because, you want to give Krishna consciousness to everybody.
Yeah, so we should try to see those in a cultural aspect, and we should try to see why in that part of the world they do it like that, and not judge that.
So it's okay if somebody has a different viewpoint, a different idea, a different opinion. We can live with that, We're not going to take out our, our water bottles and fight over it, right? We're going to say, okay, we agree to disagree on certain details, but in principle we agree we should share Krishna consciousness. That's what it means. That's okay with you. Because a lot of time you find people fighting about this kind of stuff. Have you ever seen people fighting about this kind of stuff?
Yes.
In general, they agree, but in detail, they disagree. And then they really get going. So we're not going to do this. So, next.
We will accept full responsibility for success in achieving our desired outcomes.
Which means that if by the end of these 5 days we're not going to fulfill these expectations, whose fault is it? Ours. Which means this guy's? No, everyone's, right? So if we go off track and we start talking about politics or soccer or how's the weather in Colombia right now, somebody can just raise their hand and say, objection, this is off the topic, we should get back on track, we got some achievables here, all right? So if I start running off my mouth and getting into other stuff, it's your right to say, please stay focused, you want to go somewhere. Okay, next.
We will confront issues or behaviour, not people.
What does that mean?
It doesn't get personal,
it's
more topical.
Topical. You stay on the topic.
What you say.
Play the ball, not the man, So you actually stay on the issue. We're not going to confront people. And last but not least,
we will each agree to honor any agreement reached.
For instance, if we would say something drastic like we're going to be here on time, then you're actually going to do it. Does that work for you?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. When I joined, I was 15 years old. And the first thing my Sankirtan leader, Rohini Sudha Prabhu, did was, he went with me to the store and he bought me a watch. It was a cheap watch, but it was a watch. And he said, if you don't have a watch, you don't know when we're going to pick you up. And you're going to waste everyone's time. And that's not a good thing. So he bought me a watch, and I made sure I was on time. So please try to do that. It does help. People take you serious. If you show up late for meetings, you show up late for class, you show up late for anything, in most of the cultures of the world, it is not appreciated. Okay, so these are the norms, and you've got them in your student handbook on page number 4, just to remind you. And what we're going to do now is, I would like to read your quotes by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said, I'm very glad to hear that you're taking so many steps to improve things and spread Krishna consciousness more and more to the citizens at large. The main thing is to somehow or other create first quality preachers on Krishna's behalf. So many boys and girls are simply wasting their time in many frivolous ways. But if we're sincere and serious to attract them to Krishna's fold, very easily we shall be able to persuade them to join us. That means simply let them get a taste of something higher than their present-day sense pleasure. Of course, that will not be so easily done, but it will be your credit for doing it. Serious and sincere. Those are the two words Prabhupada always mentioned. Serious and sincere. So we're going to speak about these qualities. But what I'd like to do first, before we get into it, is how many of you attended Bhagavatam class this morning? No class today. What's wrong here? It's got to be Bhagavatam class. Okay, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There is no excuse. I know. Your mind may say, oh, it's marathon, we don't have to read, we're just going to go out and do work. Oh, we got meetings, we got festivals, we got work to do. How often does that happen? Too often, right? And then there's no class. So please, make it a point. At least read one verse a day. Can you do that? Yes. Did you know that if you read one verse a day, in 46 years you will complete all the Bhagavatam? Most of you can still do it. We had one Prabhupada disciple last night at the graduation ceremony at Yama. He was one of Prabhupada's servants. And he said he heard Prabhupada dictate the books every night. But he would not read. He himself would not read, even though he heard Prabhupada dictate the books. And he's been around in the movement for longer than 46 years. So if you just read one shloka a day, in 46 years you complete all the Bhagavatam. If you read 1 hour a day, in 2 years you read the Bhagavatam. If you read 4 hours a day, in 1 year you read all the Bhagavatam. So sometimes it seems like impossible, right? 18,000 shlokas, how can I ever read this? When you try to give people a set of books, 18 books, they go like, whoa, how can I do this? Just do 1 verse a day. Can you do 1 verse a day?
Yes. Yes.
Some are not so convinced. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 9th chapter. Text number 29. It's one of my favorite verses. Brahma just performed his tapasya. For how long? 100 years. 100 years he was doing tapasya. And after that, Krishna appeared. And what did Krishna do? He said thank you, and he shook his hand. That's pretty cool, huh? Krishna came and said thank you. Shook his hand. And then Brahma was glorifying Krishna with beautiful prayers. And he was asking for boons, for protection, for remembrance, for service, to not fall into Maya, to not become proud. Beautiful prayers. And this is Krishna's response. You want to hear Krishna's response?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
It might change your life forever. Okay, text 29. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Mavena Garbhagastandrim Sargo Udyamam Avaha. Tanmaya Paditam Yagre Yamam Partayate Bhavam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead then said, O Brahma, depth of Vedic wisdom, be neither depressed nor anxious about the execution of creation. What you're begging from me has already been granted before. Have you ever been anxious?
Yes.
Have you ever been depressed?
Yes.
Have you ever wondered whether you could do the job, whether you're good enough for it? So Krishna is speaking here, addressing exactly this point. Saying that, never mind, whatever it is that you want to do, it has been granted, it has already been given so many times before. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, any person authorized by either the Lord or by his bona fide representative is already blessed, as is the work entrusted to him. Of course, the person entrusted with such responsibility should always be aware of his incapability and must always look for the mercy of the Lord for the successful execution of his duty. One should not be puffed up because he is entrusted with certain executive work. Fortunate is he who is so entrusted. And if he is always fixed in a sense of being subordinate to the will of the Supreme, he is sure to come out successful in the discharge of his work. Arjuna was entrusted with the work of fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And before he was so entrusted, the Lord had already arranged for his victory. But Arjuna was always conscious of his position as subordinate to the Lord. And thus he accepted him as the supreme guide in his responsibility. Anyone who takes pride in doing responsible work but does not give credit to the Supreme Lord is certainly falsely proud and cannot execute anything nicely. Brahma and persons in the line of his disciplic succession will follow in his footsteps, who follow in his footsteps, are always successful in the discharge of loving transcendental service to the Supreme Lord. What was the last sentence?
One who follows in the footsteps.
Brahma and people who follow in his footsteps will always be successful. in the performance of their devotional service. Would you like to be successful in life?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Thank you for your great audience participation.
Yes.
When people meet you on the street, they have three questions. There's three things they want to know. What are those three things?
Who are you? Who are you?
Who are you? Okay, number two.
What do you have? What do you want from me? What's in it for me?
What's this book? And what's in it for me? Number three. What do I get out of this? If you can answer these three questions in 21 seconds or less, they will take the book. I guarantee you that. In some places, they don't mind about number one, number two. They only want to know number three. What's in it for me? What do I get from this? What is my benefit in talking to you? People in this world are looking for... What are people looking for in this world? I mean, I don't know. I'm not out there. You know, I'm here in Mayapur. You know, it's like here, it's a different thing. You know, but remind us. What are people looking for in this world?
Friends.
Friends, happiness,
Money.
love, money, peace, love. What else?
Enjoyment.
Enjoyment,
Satisfaction.
satisfaction. Do you like the birds out there? Puppy? Puppy? You like puppy? You hear the birds? Yeah. You don't hear the birds? It's beautiful, huh? Do you like beauty? Do you like aesthetics?
Yeah.
Is that important in Krishna consciousness?
Sure.
Yeah.
What was Krishna wearing this morning? Huh? White and maroon. Yellow chakra, yeah. Huh? Yeah. So, people are looking for beauty. People are looking for wealth. People are looking for knowledge. People are looking for power. People are even looking for renunciation. They want to get away from it and just be a little detached. So what are people looking for? It's opulence. That means?
Pleasure.
They're looking for Krishna. Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure. Everything comes from Him. He has all those things. What do they say when they look at the book? They say, who's this girl? Right? Have you heard that?
All the time.
Huh? All the time, right? Who's this girl? Why? Because they think girl means beauty, right? So they see Krishna and say, who is this girl? Because everything comes from Krishna. Yadyapi bhutimat sattvam srimat udiktam evava tattata eva jagatpatam mamante jo masamama. All the beauty, all the opulences, everything is spark from my splendor. The birds out there, spark of Krishna's splendor. All the boys, the girls, all the beautiful colors, shapes, forms, everything comes from Krishna. Do you believe that? Are you sure?
Yes.
You know, it's not good enough that it's there somewhere in a book. You got to actually, believe in it and then see it that way. Because otherwise you think, why are these birds out there? They're annoying us. They're not annoying us. They're just out there making their music. So, what would you like to give to people? That's a big question. Because in marketing, you have to know your market. You have to know your audience. So what is the need? What is it that they're looking for? We already heard all the things that people are looking for. Now, what is it that you would like to give to them?
Krishna consciousness.
Okay. Fair enough. Very good. What else? In one word or less, what is it that you would like to give them? Huh? Happiness. Yeah. Mercy. Knowledge. Mantra. Success. Devotional service.
Who is Krishna?
Who is Krishna?
This for you.
Taste for real happiness. And from our front row. Best seats. These are the box seats, you know, VIP seats. Taste for relationship, yeah. Fearlessness. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Don't people like that stuff? You know what they say? When we come to ISKCON, why we come to ISKCON? Have you ever talked to people? Why they come to ISKCON? Peace of mind. Not that you come in and then it's, you know, buy this and do this and give me this and sign this and... No. Peace of mind. People are looking for peace of mind. Do you know that people are paying big money to go to Buddhist monasteries to do silent meditation, to eat like rice water, and to work in the garden? They're paying big money to do this kind of things. Why? Peace of mind. So much noise, so much agitation. So you got to know what your message is. You got to know what you want to give to people. Because if you don't know, and people are going to ask you, not only people are going to ask you, your mind is going to ask you. So, I was in Guanajuato. You know where Guanajuato is? Mexico. Mexico, yes. Guanajuato. Can you add this up? Guanajuato. Sorry for my terrible words. But I like that word. So, hang up high enough so people can see it. And I was on the town square, and there was one gentleman in a three-piece suit. You know three-piece suit? You're too young to know what a three-piece suit is. It means it's a vest, and a nice jacket, and a cravatone, and the nice boots that go along with it, and a pocket watch. You know those on the gold chain? And he had a cane, and a lot of rings. And he was like about 65, 70-year-old gentleman, and I approached him, and he just looked at me. And he was like, what you got, you know? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? And he looked like a, you know, like a judge or a lawyer or somebody like aristocratic, sophisticado. So, you have many options what you can say, right? You can just say, okay, I'll give you mantra A, mantra B, mantra C, like that. Right? Many 1, many 2, many 3, right? But you meet people like that and you think like, well, this is not going to work. It's just not going to work, you know. He's not going to connect with that. So what do you do when you don't know what to do? Have you ever been in a situation where you didn't know what to do? Pray to God. Ah, you pray to God, yes. Because the God who is in the heart. If you actually pray to Him, He will tell you what to do. Always. So, you have that little moment. It's called the moment of truth. Huh? Il momento de verdad. It's the real moment. It's a small moment, but it's the moment of truth. When you realize what I was about to do will not work. Krishna tell you that. It's not going to work. You're going to try to fake it, it's not going to work. Okay? So, you're going to try something else. So what is it that you have to try to do? Like Brahma, you have to perform a little austerity and you have to pray. You have to actually be sincere in your heart of hearts. And Krishna will tell you what to do. So I prayed, and I said, I am trying to develop introspection and humility through selfless service. And he looked at me. Introspection, humility, selfless service. Okay, how much? How much? He took out his wallet, he gave me the money, and he walked away the book. No arguments, no discussion. If Krishna tells him to take the book, he has to take the book. Yes. And sometimes you tell them about, about how the universe was created, and everything, from the Mahatattva to the Pradana to the, 8,400,000 life forms. And then people say, okay, fine, but, I don't want it. You say, well, come on, I just gave you the whole story. I gave you everything. Krishna is in the heart of every living entity. Krishna is the one who is the doer. He's the one who makes it happen. He's the one who can play the magic. It's not us. The devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, how do you distribute books? And how do you train other devotees to distribute books? Prabhupada said, don't teach them techniques. Don't teach them techniques. Teach them how to be sincere. Because if they're sincere, and then he motioned with his hand to his heart, then the Lord in the heart will reveal everything to them. Yeah. So Krishna, in your heart, he revealed everything to you if we're sincere. And that's the art of sweet surrender. It's sweet surrender because it's voluntary. It's because we do it out of love. It's because we do it because we want to cooperate with Krishna and his plan to share this mercy with others. It's not because it's forced, because somebody says, okay, you gotta do this. You know what? You like me? Huh? You really like me, right? Yeah, you got something going there. Yeah, I can feel it. No. You can distribute a few books by tricking people, coercing people, making a lot of noise, getting loud microphones and screaming and yelling, but not for very long. Not for very long. After a while, Krishna in your heart will tell you, what are you doing here? Why are you doing this? Don't you have something better to do? Did you join this movement to scream into a microphone, No. So, in any venture, there's a few questions that we have. One of the first questions, we just gave this seminar in a slightly different way to the leadership course, and it was called Being a Spiritual Entrepreneur. So, the first question in any venture, in any project, what is the first question that you should ask?
Why?
Okay, we got why. Then what else you got?
What are we trying to do?
We got what? What else?
What is that?
How?
How? What else?
Where?
Where?
When? Which?
Which as in?
With whom?
Who? Correct. This is the sequence, okay? Most people, they jump right to this. I want to know how it works. Teach me how it goes. But this is not the first question to be asked. The first question to be asked is, what is it that we're actually supposed to be doing? We're not just book salesmen. It's not about moving product. It's not about transactions. People have enough transactional exchanges in their lives. They want transformation. Now these are all lines you can use on the street. You can tell people, this is not about a transactional relationship. This is about a transformational relationship. This is stuff people can relate to. This is something people are looking for. Do people want transformation?
Yes.
Yeah, they're looking for transformation. Because transactions, it's not really that meaningful. So what is it that we are doing? Can someone remind us? What are we doing?
Try to spread Krishna consciousness. Yes, try to.
Good idea, right? Yeah, try to spread Krishna consciousness. Thank you for reminding us. Satisfy Prabhupada, yes. You share Krishna's mercy.
Be pure.
Be pure. Okay, yes, that is the job description. That is what we want to do. And that's very important to be mindful of that. To be conscientious of that. Because sometimes you can lose sight of the goal. Has it ever happened to you that you've lost sight of the goal?
Yeah.
Did you ever get a little confused, a little lost? You couldn't see the forest for the trees? And then you got caught up in the Lord's Maya. Huh? It's very much possible. Always ask yourselves, what is it that I'm trying to do? Just like Brahma, he was confused. He was searching for answers. He was austere, he was knowledgeable, he was all these good things, but he couldn't figure it out. So, know very clearly what it is that you're trying to achieve. Write it down. Srila Prabhupada mentioned, to remember means,
Write it down.
write it down. If you don't have a pen and a paper, please bring a pen and a paper. These student handbooks are yours to use. Some of you brought notebooks, very good. Write it down, because to write it down means you will remember. Huh? Very good. So then comes the why question. Why? Почему? Perché? Wieso? Pourquoi? Huh? Why is why the most important question? What does why define?
Inspiration.
Yeah, closer.
Intention. What should I do? Intention.
Intention, motive. As they say in criminal psychology, no motive, no case. What's your motive? People want to know why you do this. You are young, beautiful, intelligent, successful. Why are you out here trying to give me this book? I could buy this book online. I could buy this book in the store. Why are you here trying to give this? Your homework for tomorrow is to write down your 108 reasons of why you want to distribute Prabhupada's books. I'm sure you have 108 reasons, right? Do you have? No. You have 5 reasons why you're doing this. Maybe. You have 1 reason why you want to share this with others. Okay, come up with 1 reason, but it's got to be a burning reason. Like something that gets you out of bed in the morning. You went up from Mangalore today?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So, why? Why?
To please Krishna.
Yeah, that's a good reason. But you have to know that reason. Otherwise, nothing will get you there, you know? Even though you might be next door, but you won't go. So, write down your own personal reason, not something somebody else's reason, your own reason. Why you want to distribute Prabhupada's books. And tomorrow, we want to hear them. I want to hear from you. What is it that gets you motivated? Because that is what the people on the street will ask you. And if you don't know the answer, you're going to look stupid. And if your mind is asking you something and you don't know the answer, that's even worse. Has it ever happened to you? Your mind goes, and you're like, I'm just here, you know. That's not good enough. Because now, we're not anymore in communism. We're not anymore in capitalism. We're in postmodernism. You know what postmodernism means? I, me, and mine. But if you don't have a personal motive, you don't have a personal reason, a personal desire, that means you don't really know what you're doing. You're just a drifter. You're just floating around. You're just lost, like so many other people. You know, lost without a rudder at sea. So, and then, tomorrow we're going to get into how, and where, and when, and who. And this is important stuff. But without this, it makes no sense. Because without motive, no case. If you cannot motivate your mind, it's not going to happen. Have you ever had that experience? You were capable of doing something, but because your mind didn't buy into it, it didn't happen? Yes. Has this ever happened to you? Yes. Or is it just me? You got full ability to do what needs doing, but your mind didn't buy into it. And it didn't happen. And it's quite shocking, because it's sometimes easy stuff, like cleaning your room, you know? Like doing your homework, like, you know, washing the laundry, like going to Mangalari. It's easy, it's plausible, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Why? Because we did not succeed in convincing our mind that it was useful, that it was plausible, and that it's the right thing to do. So we're going to discuss this in the coming days. You can put this up somewhere. Seven purposes of ISKCON are there in your student handbooks on pages 8. Okay. Have you heard of the seven purposes of ISKCON? Yeah. No? When Prabhupada registered this ISKCON society, where did he register it? Which year? 1966. Thank you. These are the seven purposes. You know, you have to give a purpose. When you register a society, especially a charitable society, a non-profit society, they want to know, why is it that you're doing what you're doing? So these are the seven purposes which Prabhupada wrote down, and he actually put it in the original document when he registered ISKCON. So, it's right here. And you can read through them yourself. This is your homework, to go through the seven purposes. I'd just like to touch on point number 7. Yes. Somebody can read that out for us? Wait. Number 7. I think that's the one that doesn't work. This is the one that does work.
Number 7, with a view towards achieving the aforementioned purposes, to publish and distribute periodicals, books, and other writings.
In other words, if you just publish and distribute books, you will fulfill all the 7 purposes. Isn't that a wonderful, all-in-one, comprehensive solution to all the problems? Isn't that nice? Yes. All the other stuff is important, and it's your homework. You're going to read these, because this is going to come in the test. We're going to have an exam, nothing heavy, just like, you know, on day number 5. And this is important stuff, foundational stuff, you know? Foundation, like basics. Can you read number 1 also, since you already added it? So we have the nice sandwich.
Number 1, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large, and to educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life, in order to check the imbalance of values in life, and to achieve real unity and peace in the world.
Thank you. Is that being achieved through book distribution? Does this happen if we distribute books?
Yes.
I can't hear you.
Yes.
Thank you. So, think along the lines, how does these 7 purposes relate to book distribution? Make the connection, see how it, you know, triangulates with your own personal life. Am I actually engaged along these lines, or is this just something somebody wrote, you know, in 1966? We said foundational. Did you know that if you build a house, if you ever were to build a house, did you know that 20% of your expense goes into the foundation? Did you know that? If your house costs $1 million, $200,000 will be under the ground in the foundation. That's a lot of money. Now, no one's going to come to your house and say, hey, you got a nice foundation. They will say, you have nice curtains. Not this way. Nice curtains. You got a nice bathroom. Your kitchen is beautiful. You know, you got really nice stuff, nice furniture. But nobody will say you have a nice foundation. But when there is going to be earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, do these things happen?
Yes.
Yeah? Storms?
Yeah.
Have you seen the storms here in Mayapur? They get pretty massive and get pretty windy. If you do not have a good foundation, what happens? Boom! Kaput. The whole thing just goes flat like a deck of cards. Everything just obliterates. In our own personal lives, have you ever wondered about the facade, the decor? How do I look? How do I portray? How am I perceived? All the external stuff. But what's my foundation? That's what we should be worried about. Because that's where everything else stands upon. Books are the basis. Prabhupada built his society on his books. He was asked often, why didn't you come earlier to the West? Why did you wait so long? You only had 10 years. Why didn't you come before? Prabhupada said, I had to write these books. Before he didn't have the first canto, he felt that it wasn't time to come and spread this message. He struggled for a long time to publish his magazines. Then he wrote the Gita, and the manuscript was stolen. It took him 7 years, almost 8 years, to publish first canto Bhagavatam in 3 volumes. And then he realized, my time is not going to work out. I want to do the whole Bhagavatam, but the time is too short. So what do you do when you realize that the job is too big and you cannot do it in the time? You get help. You get help. How do you get help? You go and get Americans. Because America will save the world, right? One honest person. Yes. If you want to make something impossible happen, you go to the place of great dreams, great hopes, and great aspirations. America. New York City. Exactly. Prabhupada went there on the Jaladuta with 40 rupees and a few trunks of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he did it. And the rest is history. Now we have 1,000 centers worldwide. We have millions of devotees. Every year there's 10 million books going out worldwide. 10 million books. It's pretty good, right? What do you think? You're not so...
Could be better.
Huh?
Could be better.
Could be better, right? Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses and the Gideons are doing better.
Yeah. Drop in a bucket. Gideons, one Bible society, one group of Christians. They're just business people who vow to give a certain amount of money. They do 80 to 90 million Bibles a year. We do 10 million books, all our society together. They do 10 times as much, just one society. So there's a lot of room for growth. But going back to the basics, foundational stuff. Focus on your foundation. Otherwise, when the storm comes, and the storm will come, things will start to shake and crumble and you will suffer structural damage. You ever seen buildings who are collapsing? It's possible. So we don't want that to happen to your spiritual life. Sometimes we get busy just doing stuff. And we don't really think too much. Why am I doing? What am I doing? How long am I going to be doing it? And then what's the future in this? And after a while, we're not going to continue doing it because we just can't go on. So just some topics. Any questions so far? Yes.
To do good foundation, no?
Yes. Some tips?
Yeah, explanation.
Well, let's hear it from the group. What do you think is good foundational substance here to build your house of Krishna consciousness?
Good sadhana. And all of them.
Okay.
Reading Bhagavad books.
Yes.
Spiritual practice.
Yeah. Daily practice. Japa.
Association.
Reading. Sangha.
Service.
Seva. What else? Sincerity.
Kushal.
Tapasya.
Tapasya. Yes.
Good character.
Good character. Yes.
Good rest.
Kirtan.
Health.
Good health. Yeah. All this stuff is important. Would you agree? Okay, we're going to speak about these things. All right? Because unless we have these things, this will not stay for long. Now we want you to be happy, healthy, and successful in Krishna consciousness for a lifetime. For a lifetime. Not just a couple of weeks, not just a few years, not just 1 or 2 decades, but for a lifetime. Now some of you are already in meditative trance. So what I'd like you to do right now is to pay full attention to Chaitanya Charaprabhu, who's going to tell us why he is distributing Prabhupada's books and what gets him motivated to do so after such a long time. Please, tell us. And you can ask him questions.
Hare Krishna. Retired by now?
Yes, I must be.
Long seminar. Last year I attended the whole seminar, so I was in one place, I know what you are facing. So I distribute books in Brazil for a few years already. I travel in a van, so I visit small different cities. It's a very primitive van, according to the Rio de book. Of course, in Switzerland they have much better vans. So I travel around different cities in the south of the country. So one thing that I notice nowadays is that people in the big cities, they are becoming more... So one thing that is noticeable nowadays is that people in the biggest cities, their society is becoming too degraded. People are becoming too hedonistic. Too much drugs, sex, all these things. And some people are becoming too impersonalist and so on. So often it's difficult to distribute books in big cities, in the biggest metropolis. So a lot of times we focus our preaching or book distribution too much in the biggest cities where it is actually frequently difficult to distribute books, and we don't visit the smaller cities where people are frequently much more receptive. So that's one thing that I learned through explore. I got this van and I started visiting all these smaller cities around. So cities with 200,000 inhabitants, 100,000, 50,000, 30,000 in some cases. And you visit the cities and you talk to people. Sometimes you can just go to the downtown. If the city is big enough, you can just go normal person to person. Sometimes the city is too small, so you also go to visit the stores, you even visit the houses sometimes. And in the smaller cities, like I said, people are frequently much more receptive than in the big cities. So you can have a place like where the temple is, the capital of the country or the state. And you have your house there, your temple there, you have your gates there, and from there you can travel around and visit these small cities. So one thing that is very effective that I found out is that you can organize your travels in patterns. So you can imagine that you have this is your country or your shelter. So you are here in the middle, right? So you need to, from the middle, you need to cover the whole space here with traveling along. How you can do that? Maybe I can draw on the board.
Chaitanya, can you tell us why you're doing what you're doing? Your motivation?
Okay, first I'm going to say what I'm doing. Otherwise I'm not going to understand. So, one thing that I learned is that from here, you can cover the whole area if you do your travels like this. Becomes like a flower, very beautiful. So you can go in one direction, you visit different cities, and then you come back in a different direction. And then you do the same thing in a different direction. This way, if you do each travel in like 1 month, 2 months, you can cover the whole kshetra. Like you can visit every city like 1 time per year, 2 times per year, and this is very effective because when people they see you first time, they become receptive because they never saw you, so they are curious. But if you are every day in the same place, you are not news anymore. So people become. But if you go like 1 time and give them a few books, and then like next year you go again, and you give them different books, they can take books again, and this way you can cultivate this place. You can talk to these people every year, you can bring them new books, you can take them contacts, you can speak about what you are doing, give the website, YouTube channel, all these things. And this way you can cultivate people, and little by little you can make devotees in these small cities. You can create local programs. You can even have some centers of activation. This way you can, the movement can grow in these places. So that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I learned that's it's effective. So this is what keeps me going. To see that you can actually create a lot of change in people's lives doing this. Now, even if I just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, in a big country, what we can do, we have like 5 devotees and 10 million people country, what we can do. This is a way that you can preach very effectively, actually. You can make a lot of devotees, and even the people that don't become devotees, you can create changes in their lives. It's interesting, I'm traveling, and sometimes I go to some cities that I already have been a few times, and I meet people and they ask me questions, I was reading the book that we should offer food for Krishna, how exactly I do that? How I offer food to Krishna? Now they ask this, how I can chant this Mahamantra, there is some process, how it works, why Krishna was telling Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita to kill his relatives, they come with different philosophical questions, so it means that they got books, they're reading these books, and this is creating change in their consciousness. One time I meet one man, and he said, you remember me. Last time I said to you that I was an atheist, but still you convinced me to take a book. So I read the book that you gave to me. And you know what? I'm still an atheist. But I decided to become vegetarian. No meat for me anymore. So the guy was so rascal that he read the book, still he was atheist. But at least he got the point. No meat eating. He understood non-violence and karma and so on. So he changed this thing in his life. No meat eating. And God knows what is going to happen next life. Maybe next life is going to want to offer his food to Krishna or something like that. So that's how it works. Our book distribution is like an iceberg. You see an iceberg? Looks kind of small, like a small mountain in the ocean, right? Not so big. But these parts that you see above the water is like 5% or a small percentage of the mass of the iceberg. the biggest part of the iceberg is under the surface. You can see it, but if you have a ship, you crash into it, it goes down like the Titanic. So, our book distribution is like that. We distribute like 1 million books, and you see like 10, 15, 20 people coming to the temple and shaking their heads, and you think, oh, so many books, so little results. But you don't know the people that are taking these books, that are reading these books, that are changing their consciousness because of these books. They may not come to this temple this life, but they may be chanting, they may be offering their food to Krishna, they may be doing so many things that you don't know. Maybe they're going back to Godhead, you never saw them in the temple. There was one case of one devotee, it was not me, another devotee was distributing books, and he got a present of book distribution. So one lady gave him a Bhagavad Gita. Interesting, right? The devotee is distributing books and someone gives him a Bhagavad Gita. But that was very special, Bhagavad Gita. So this lady, she explained to him that her sister, she got this book a few years back. So her sister died of cancer. So cancer, everybody knows what cancer is, right? So she explained to the devotee that she was always reading this book. So I know that she got this book from one of you, but to me this book is not interesting, so I'm giving you back. Looking inside the book, I think you are going to think it's interesting. So the interesting thing about this Bhagavad Gita is that it was the whole book, whole pages, they were marked. Just like when someone reads a book, you mark some parts of the book, right? The whole book, all pages were marked, many marks. And it was not just one type of pen, it was different types of pen, different colors. It was just one person reading this book, so it means that this person will read the book several times, and each time she was marking different things in the book. And it's interesting to imagine that this lady was reading this Bhagavad Gita when she was dying of cancer. So that's a very interesting situation. She was taking shelter in the Bhagavad Gita. She really, found this book inspiring, she was reading it, she was meditating on it. And what Krishna says, one who knows my activities, he doesn't take part again in this material world. So who knows? It's possible that this lady is there in Vaikuntha or Goloka, laughing at us that are still here. So I got here first. So many cases like that. There was one lady that I was distributing books, and she showed, oh, you remember me, you gave me a book some time ago, and she showed me a small Japamala. And she said, oh, I made my, the small Japamala she was carrying. See, I made myself. Every time that I have time, I'm chanting the Maha Mantra in these beats. So I didn't really understood what happened because she took a book, but where she learned how to make a Japamala, how to chant the Japa, was not understanding what exactly happened. And then I remember exactly what I talked with her the first time. So this lady, she was a very nice lady, very pious lady. So she took a book. I spoke something about, because there was a temple in her city, I spoke something about temple, but she was not interested in temple. She's an old person, she don't like to see many people. She was not interested in temple. But I gave her a book, and I added her on a Facebook group, WhatsApp group that I have with people that I meet. When I meet someone that is very interested, I add them on this group, WhatsApp group. Because in Brazil everybody uses WhatsApp, I think everywhere now. So I added her in this group, and in this group I give some classes on Bhagavad Gita, I teach them to make Japamala, chants, all these different things. So on the group that she got this thing about the Japamala. So she read the book, and she was not interested in temple or anything like that, but she understood the main points of the philosophy. That is to chant and to always remember Krishna. And she was trying to always chant the mantra wherever she has time. Maybe she's chanting more rounds than most of us. So that's how it works. So by a case like that, you can see the effects that this book distribution had on people. And remember, what we see, people that we see coming to the temple, they're just the tip of the iceberg. The effect of our preaching goes much deeper. A few decades ago you had Soviet Union. Who caused the downfall of Soviet Union? Prabhupada. Because he went there and he started distributing, he planted a seed. He started distributing transcendental knowledge. And then the people started to, the whole consciousness of the country started to change. There's so many stories of devotees in Soviet Union times. There is, for example, one story of a few devotees that they were working in some kind of communal farm. They were planting oranges and other fruits on this farm. So these devotees were working this farm. What they will do, some kind of communist farm. They were more or less forced to work there. But what they will do is that every year when they will pick the fruits, they will put all the fruits in a big barn, in a big deposit, and they will go there at night, when nobody was seeing, and they will make a huge kirtan there, and they will offer all these fruits to Krishna. The whole deposit, the whole plantation. So these fruits will go all over the Soviet Union, and everybody will be taking prasad. All these leaders of the Soviet party and so on, they will be all taking prasad. And then eventually one guy called Gorbachev became the leader of Soviet Union. And then everybody was saying, Gor. Everybody was chanting the name. Gor. And then, the whole country was chanting, and then the Soviet Union went down.
Any questions to Chaitanya Charan Prabhu? Chaitanya Charan? Yes, Chaitanya Charan. Yes. No, just speak loud and you can restate.
I guess I have two questions.
Yes.
I thought that you only distributed in one place. No, you've been for years you've been traveling.
No, distributing a part of the country. So in this sense is one place, but I visit so many cities there.
I thought for some reason I thought you just do one city, like where you live, that you travel.
Yes, I travel. I think that's the secret. If you want to increase your book distribution, you should travel. It's very difficult to distribute every day in the same city, even if it's a very big city, but the mind gets tired. It's difficult. But if you travel, meet new places, new people, it's much easier.
And my second question, I've been doing traveling book distribution for years. I was wondering, as your householder, how does that work? This is practical. You don't.
No, but you open Word Sankirtan newsletter, right? And many of the biggest book distributors there, they are householders. The brahmacharis are losing.
I know, that's what I'm wondering how does that work?
Yeah, the point is that you need to conciliate this. You need to make some agreement with the wife. Okay, stay a few months with you here, the rest of the time I travel. I send you money every month, don't be concerned, every month I'm going to send you money, but no, I can't stay the whole time with you. You need to make some agreements. It's possible, and of course the devotees that they don't do traveling Sankirtan, they just stay in the same city, it's much easier.
Sorry, when you said traveling Sankirtan, is it a group thing or is it single man stuff?
Yeah, normally you should be in a group doing traveling Sankirtan. I just do alone because that's what was working. But ideally should be a group because it's dangerous to travel alone for different reasons.
Prema in the back. Prabhu, thank you. How do you maintain yourself in an enthusiastic way and how you do your sangha? What's your sangha when you are traveling? So
Maintain me like health, like this?
No, maintain yourself enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic.
Being alone. Alone.
Krishna, of course, but
Yeah, we need to see what works for you. You know, for me, I get enthusiastic by reading Prabhupada's books and reading classes. But of course, other devotees may have different requirements. And then you see what you need and you try to get what you need.
We'll take one or two more questions and then we have our break. Yes, here in front. Okay, we're looking for questions that are related specifically to his program and what he's doing. If you've got general questions, you can ask them later on. We're also introducing a concept, it's called the car park. So we're going to park this question about people who don't have a reading habit here. Somebody can put this up and write it up. Okay. Yes? We put it in the car park. Just write it up. How to deal with people who don't have a reading habit. Okay? What? Okay, I'll write it. Your question.
It's about your foundations. What is your roots? Who is your proof force in your spiritual life, but maintain your Krishna consciousness?
What maintain Krishna consciousness?
What is your roots? Your foundation.
That's one thing that I learned that is important for book distributors. That you should have a very strong connection with Srila Prabhupada. Because no, you are distributing his books, so if you don't have a connection with him, it's very difficult to have this impetus to go and distribute his books. Because you tend to distribute, if you have connection with somebody else and you don't have connection with Prabhupada, then you are going to want to distribute books from someone else, not from Prabhupada, you understand? So that's what's important, is to understand this concept of parampara. That I have, Krishna there in the top, and then, Brahma, and all the way to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and then Prabhupada. And then after Prabhupada, you have your spiritual master, or maybe you have two after Prabhupada. But you understand that your spiritual master doesn't replace Prabhupada. He's a transparent medium with Prabhupada. He increases your connection with Srila Prabhupada, not that he becomes your connection. No, he doesn't replace, he increases your connection with Prabhupada. That's how it's important to be. So it means that you come to the movement. Probably you came because of a book. So it means that you have some connection with Prabhupada because he was reading his books, right? You are taking shiksha from him. And then you get a spiritual master, right? The spiritual master, you should understand that he is supposed to want to teach you, to help you to understand this message from Srila Prabhupada, not just to replace him. So if you see your spiritual master and you don't see Prabhupada behind him, something is wrong with your understanding. So I thought that this is an important point for this connection with Prabhupada.
Okay, let's thank Chaitanya Prabhu. He's also writing a book which will be published.
Actually, I'm publishing already.
Already? Okay. So
So
it's going to be online so people can.
I'm going to put the address.
Yeah, he's going to write the address on where you can find it. I read most of it and it's deep stuff. It's really intense. If you have other points or other questions, you can ask him.
For you.
For me, okay?
About this topic. I want to know about your foundation in the beginning, and if your foundation in the beginning is the same that your foundation now, because it's so many years preaching, it's so many years giving your life to Srila Prabhupada, and for me, I want to make this homework, that what is my foundation, but I want to know about you, what are you thinking being in the past, what moves to inspire you, what is your foundation,
You want to know? You want me to tell him? I'll tell you after the break, okay? So I'll see you back here at 12:20. You got 15 minutes. If you need to use the restrooms, walk around, you can go to the gardens, chant Gayatri, have some water, and then 12:20 to 1:30. At 1:30 there's going to be lunch downstairs. So please come back. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Welcome back. We're almost with you. Getting there. Okay. All right. How did you like Chaitanya Prabhu's presentation? What do you remember from it? You're smiling? What are you smiling about? What do you remember from his presentation?
We should not stay in the big city, we should travel around.
Don't just be stuck in one place, okay? Move around sometimes. Even if you're in one city, move around in that city. Even if you're in one spot, move around in that one spot. Very few people can stay in one place for all the time. Very few. Most people, they need to move. Otherwise, the mind starts to freak out. And if you want to cover more area, get a van, get a vehicle, and start doing traveling Sankirtan. You know what Prabhupada said? I'll tell you what he said. He said, everyone should go to the Sankirtan party as soon as possible. It's an instruction from Prabhupada. Everybody should go to the Sankirtan party. That means you go out on Harinam Sankirtan, you go out and you join the chanting party. Have you been to the chanting party here in Mayapur? It's fun? You like it? Yeah. You've been dancing with the pilgrims? It's great, isn't it? It's wonderful. And then it's easy to give the books, right? Harinam and books together, and then you have prasadam. Boom. Boom. Nuclear fusion. Best combination. So people are looking for happiness and they're working hard, they're doing parties. You know, Friday night. No, you guys never did that, right? Friday night, Saturday night. But we have a party every day. It's called Mangal Party, right? We have a Mangal Party, 4 o'clock. Then we have Darshan Party, 7 o'clock. Then there's a noon party, in the evening again. So the devotees never stop having a festival. Because in the spiritual world, every word is a song and every step is a dance. So we're part of the Sankirtan party. And if we have problems in our lives, most likely it is because our activities are not connected to Sankirtan. I got a question for you. Who here is a Sankirtan devotee? A Sankirtan devotee, Sankirtaniero. Who is the devotee de Sankirtan? Who is a Sankirtan devotee? Everyone. What kind of a devotee are you? Are you a kitchen devotee or an office devotee or a manager devotee or? Huh?
I did Sankirtan.
We are all Sankirtan devotees. In this movement, there is only one type of devotee. What kind of a devotee? Sankirtan. Okay, so who here is a Sankirtan devotee? Haribol. At least Haribol is better, but at least Haribol. Okay? All our problems come from a wrong sense of identity. If you think I'm an old lady or I'm a whatever, you know, then you have a problem. Because then you're thinking according to your material designation. But if you know you're a Sankirtan devotee, then the external situation is not that, you know, it's not that dominant. You still have your body, your mind, your situation, and you have to deal with it. But if in your heart you feel, I'm a Sankirtan devotee, then that's your consciousness, that's your spirit. So, try to think more along those lines. I'm a Sankirtan devotee, rather than, oh, I'm just doing a job, and once a week, once a blue moon, once a lifetime, one in a year, I'll go and I do a little bit of that too. Because if this is your identity, this is your modus operandi, the way how you roll, the way how you operate, then you will see life through the eyes of a Sankirtan devotee. You'll see every situation. Have you ever noticed how different the world is when you walk out the front door with books in your pocket? Have you ever noticed the difference?
Yes.
When I take books with me, I'm looking for what? Potential customers, right? So I'm looking at everybody, not, oh, you look nice, oh, you don't look so nice, but I'm looking at everybody, hey, I'm happy to meet you. Not just because I want to give him or sell him something, but because I can see this is a part and parcel of Krishna. This person is Krishna's part and parcel. He has forgotten it, but I'm here to remind him. I want to make that connection. I see Krishna in every person. I see Krishna in every living entity. I see Krishna in every situation. That's what Sankirtan does. And if you don't carry books with you, you go out into the world and you think like, oh, like, don't like, okay, I can get something here, no, I have to avoid that, oh, this one looks at me like this, that one looks at me like that, oh, I don't like this. You know, that type of thinking. We all know that type of thinking, right? Yeah. Not a very blissful existence. So if you want to be blissful, always carry books with you. Can you do that? Yes. You can take small books, okay? But always carry some books with you. Because believe it or not, you may be traveling, you may be somewhere in a bus, in an airport, and people come up to you and they say, Krishna eats, huh? Hare Krishna, huh? And then what's the next question? Bhagavad Gita? And then you go, I didn't bring the book, I was lazy. Yeah, I'm an idiot. This person, Krishna sent me this person, and I could not give. Why? Because I was lazy. How many times has it happened to you?
Many times.
Too many times. Okay? Do we have books available? Yes.
We have.
We do have, right? We're in a good situation. We do have books. When I went to Brazil the first time, it was either 1993 or around 1993. Somebody here from Brazil? He just left. You remember when the new reais came? The new Brazilian currency, the new reais? Somewhere mid-1990s. So, and I went to Rio de Janeiro. And I went to the temple there, and I said, okay, I want to go on Sankirtan, show me the book room. And they said, we don't have a book room. I said, what? We don't have a book room? From where I come from, this is not imaginable, you know? It's like, so, I asked him, where is your library? Library? I'm going to sell all your books, your whole library, to punish you because you do not have a book room. So I went to the library, I got out all the stacks, all the books that were there, all the Bhagavatams, all the CCs, all the books, and I just took them, and I took them out, and I sold them. And I said, now you have to get new books, because you don't have any books anymore, right? So, we have books. You just make one call to the BBT, or you just walk over to the BBT, and you pick up as many books as you want. It's simple. Formerly, it was not that simple. Prabhupada had to write the books. He had to publish the books. Hard work, big struggle. Some of you may be in countries or in situations where books are not easily available. It's a big austerity. You have the greatest wealth. You have big stocks of Prabhupada's books. So please, do yourself a favor. Always carry Prabhupada's books. Always. When you go for a walk, every day I go for a walk for an hour. I walk around. Because you know, legs are meant for walking, not really for sitting or for walking. So, you go, you walk around, and you chant Hare Krishna, and you process, you know, all the things you've heard and that go on in life, and stuff starts to make sense if you walk around, right? And then, Every now and then you meet people. Does it ever happen to you that you meet people when you walk around?
Yes.
Thank you. Now what do you do when you meet people? You smile, right? And then you say, Hare Krishna. And then usually here in India, they say, Hare Krishna back to you. And then oftentimes, they look at you, and they have that look on their face. Like, you have something for me? Like, you have something for me? It's something you want to tell me? And you go like, no, I don't have anything for you. And you just walk away, right? No! You say, hey, where are you from? Huh? Kemonache, how are you doing? Apna barikotai. Where is your house? Where do you live? You ask people these 3 questions. You know, where are you from? How are you doing? Different cultures, different questions. In China, you ask people, what did you eat, right? Huh? Right? Yeah, you ask people, what did you eat? And they go like, he knows, he understands, right? Here in India, you ever seen these guys with the big belly? Yeah. And I go like this at their belly, and I say, Rasgullah or Khichdi? And they start laughing. And they take the book. It's not difficult. But if you don't have books, how many books approximately will you sell if you don't carry books? Approximately. Zero. We have done studies across major universities, double-blind studies. If you don't carry books, you will sell 0 books. And if you carry books with you, I guarantee you, all the books that you carry with you, after you walk, they're gone. And some people will give you small, some people will give you big, some people will, not take, but you can see Krishna in every situation, and you will see how Krishna reciprocates with you. And in this way, you're not just going for a walk, you're actually going on Sankirtan. Krishna, 1:30. And that changes the game, because I'm not just doing things for myself. I'm not just walking through the world looking, what can I enjoy, what can I get for me, but I'm looking, how can I add something to this person's life? How can I give this person something? Do you know that the only language that everybody speaks on this planet is empathy? Empathy, empathia. You actually care about other people. Even if they don't understand your language, they can feel it. Have you had that experience before? Yes. Please say yes. Yes. I was in Rishikesh, and I met a yoga teacher from Ukraine, and yoga teachers, he was about my age, middle-aged, around 50. And he had that kind of, I know it all, I've done it all, don't tell me anything. You know that kind of attitude? Yeah, very common type of attitude. And I knew right from the beginning, from the first moment, the more I speak, the less likely he will take the book. So what I did was I just handed him the book and I just kept quiet. And I was just waiting for the moment when he'd give the book back to me. And he was looking at the book, and after a moment he said something very strange. He said, I feel love coming from your heart. How much is this book? Now if I'd be in San Francisco, and the guy would say that, it's a different story. But this is a Ukrainian guy, okay? So, he was serious. Because I knew with words I could not communicate to him. But Krishna can communicate to everybody. Because he's there in his heart. And if Krishna tells him, take the book, he has to take the book. You know what's really funny? And I really love this. When you go on book distribution, and the person's mind says, no, don't take it. And Krishna in the heart says, take it. It's good. And then the mind says, no. And Krishna says, yes, yes, yes. And the man says, no, no, no. And Krishna says, yes, yes, yes. And this goes on sometimes, back and forth for quite a while. Guess who's winning?
Krishna.
Well, it depends. It depends on your intensity of desire. If your desire to give him Krishna's mercy is stronger than his mind's rebellious, obstinate rascaldom, he has to take the book. Because then Krishna will say, come on, it's a good kid. Take it, give him some. But if his mind is stronger, he will go with the excuse and just walk away. And that is the foolproof test of your spiritual practice. Formerly, they used to do yagyas, where they would do sacrifices, and they would try to ignite fire by mantra. Anyone here who can do that? Anyone? How long have you been in Gurukul? How many guys you know who can ignite fire by mantra? How many can walk on water? I saw one video from Kumbh Mela. I saw a guy walking on water early in the morning.
Wow.
Like it's not a big deal, you know? Like just, you know, he's been doing it for hundreds of years. It's not so complicated. I can teach you afterwards. I'm getting distracted. You see, now I lose. What was the topic before that?
You are giving a book or communicating with Krishna.
Huh?
Krishna in the mind.
Your desire.
Your desire, yes. Your desire has to be stronger than the person's desire to just fall asleep. Have you ever had the desire to fall asleep? Does this ever happen to you? Yeah. It can happen, right? To anybody. You know what's really magical? Sometimes you're in a room with a few people. And then, all of a sudden, you say, hey, let's read a little something together, right? And you open up the book, and you start reading, and some people just... It's like you pull the plug, right? It's like you pull the plug, you flip the switch. They just go, the lights go out. As soon as you open the book, they switch off. So, this world does not work by mechanics. This world works by mantra. We're getting back to the point. Efficacy of mantra. You want to test the potency of your mantra. Have you been chanting Hare Krishna today? Yes. You've been good boys and good girls, okay. But how do you know whether you really paid attention? How do you know how good is your japa? Do you know? No. I can tell you how you know. You pick up a book and you walk out there on the street and you start talking to people. Then you will know. Then you will know, right? Am I right or am I right? Right. You don't have to scream or yell. You can just say, Hare Krishna. The person goes like, something hit me, you know? You just say, Hare Krishna. And they go like, what was that? Yes, you're talking to me? Come here, that's something for you, it's good for you, come take it. And sometimes you're screaming and yelling at the top of your lungs, and nobody can hear you. Have you ever experienced that? Yes. I was in Mumbai, not in Dadar, in another train station. 5 o'clock afternoon, rush hour traffic. People come home from their job. They've been out there commuting, working, doing all the things that people do in the city. And they're tired, beaten down, exhausted. Have you ever had that kind of crowd? Between 5 and 7 p.m.? Very difficult, right? So I tried, I tried all my tricks and all my jokes and all my things. And like the buffaloes, You ever seen buffaloes? So I thought, it's not working, it's not working. So what to do if it's not working? Change. You gotta change. Who are you gonna change? The buffaloes? No. Buffalo's not gonna change. I have to change my approach, my strategy. So I just went, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Five or seven people started looking at me. Now, you, come here. And they took books. And then again, the buffaloes, started moving. And I started chanting again. And in this way, the books went out. This world works by mantra. If you learn the art of mantra, how to communicate with people, you can touch people's hearts. You can capture their mind. You can capture their attention. So Sankirtan will empower you to learn the art of mantra. And what's the best of all the mantras? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Your Sankirtan depends on the purity and on the dedication of your japa. This is foundation. There is no ifs, buts, and whens. There is no shortcuts. Prabhupada said 90% of your spiritual advancement comes from chanting Hare Krishna. 90%. Japa. Chanting Hare Krishna. Your sincerity, your purity of chanting japa. This is what will give you the potency. And then everything else is easy. But if the japa is not solid, then it's very difficult. Because sometimes the person is looking at you, but it seems like they can't hear you. Because there is so much noise in your head. You know all that noise? All that self-talk, all that mind stuff? And people can't hear you. So the only way to cut through anything is the power of spiritual sound vibration, the power of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So by our dedicated chanting, we can wake up the whole universe, including ourselves. And sometimes you get a little off track, when you're doing book distribution. So just chant in between the people. Have you experimented? Have you tried that? Yes. Does it work? Yes. Fantastic, right? Yes. You just keep on chanting in between people. And in this way, you keep the mantra going. Keep the mantra going. Write that down. Keep the mantra going. Keep the mantra going. Always chant. In your mind, in your heart. If no one's around, audibly or out loud, or singing or screaming, just keep the mantra going. And then people will be naturally drawn, they will be naturally attracted to you. Like a magnet. I was with a few friends in Golden Ring, around Moscow, in the city, and one old lady, she looked at us talking for 10-15 minutes, and then she came and she said, I've never seen people talking like that. Why are you so different? What is it that you have? Please tell me. Salon, babushka. And she took books, all by the power of mantra, by the potency of the holy name. Prabhupada said, I've written all these books, all these 80 books, just to get people to chant Hare Krishna. Because it's simple for the simple, but it's a little more sophisticated or complicated for the complicated. Simple people, you can just tell them chant Hare Krishna, and they'll do it. But in the West, you go up to somebody and tell them chant Hare Krishna, they'll got any excuse not to do it. Right? Any excuse they will find not to do it. So, principles and values, these are foundational things, and we will use the reminder time of the morning session to focus on this. You find them in your student handbooks. Pages number 5. Principles and values. Yes. 5 through 7. And we're just going to touch on them. And what I'd like to do is, I would like to hear from you. These are the 10 principles and values for book distribution. I would like to hear from you some incidents or something that you experienced that really proved this point. If you don't understand what they mean, we have them unpacked here. Long-term vision. Somebody would like to read.
Long-term vision. The long-term pursuit. No, I don't know if it's someone.
Long-term results of book distribution are more important than short-term benefits. Interactions with the public at the cost of the society's reputation is therefore counterproductive.
Any positive or negative experiences in this regard? Somebody like to share something? Yes. Microphone.
I did a shopping Sankirtan in America, and we would go to a bonnaroo. And a bonnaroo, if you get kicked out by a high diva, police, and then you get caught coming back in, you know, what are they going to think about you? They're like, oh, we just caught you, and now you're coming back in. So you kind of have to accept that you were caught and just like put away the books, or you could ruin the whole festival for everybody. Like no one will ever come do books anymore.
Yes.
And that's happening.
Did you get that point? You understood?
No.
Sometimes the police catches you and tells you you're not allowed to do this in this place. And then you go around the corner and you come back to the same place. And then the same cop comes and says, what did I just tell you like 20 minutes ago? You're coming down to the station now. And sometimes they confiscate books, they confiscate money, you get into deep trouble. Sometimes they say, we don't want to see you again in this city. Things like that can happen. I know many hands go up, so you know, it evokes an emotional reaction in you because you've had that experience, right? So how important is it to have a long-term vision? Have you ever been to a place that has been burned?
Yeah.
Like burned? Like completely burned? Because somebody misbehaved? And when you came there, it was not so good, not so nice? It can happen.
I was just gonna say
something positive.
In the end, it's possible. But if you go to a place and you have this, you burn people out, like you were saying, they just all furtive and people would just tell you you're just trying to get money or exploiting them subtly. Then they're gonna say, "Oh, I remember you guys. You guys just do this for the money. You guys don't care about. You don't even know what you're talking about."
So what do you do if you meet a person like that?
I tell them, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you had a bad experience. I want you to have this book as a gift.
Okay. How'd you like that?
Yeah.
You like that?
Yes. And actually, oftentimes
you don't like it, right? Russian.
No, this is the thing. I've had people give me money even though I get it free.
You see?
Because they could tell that I was doing it from my heart.
Yes.
And I've had people give me nice donations.
Absolutely.
I told them no, I don't care, and then no, I insist, and they'll give me. I've had people walk back down the street and stop me and say, "Here, I want you to have this. Thank you."
Yes. Possible. Yes. Very good point.
When the next guy gives you more, you never have to worry about money.
Yeah.
You never have to.
We're going to talk more about customer care and long-term vision. In your life, are you planning for the long term or just for today?
Long term.
Who here is planning for long term? Who just lives in the moment and only cares about now?
Put it that way.
One honest man here, thank you. There's room for unity and diversity. Absolutely. You know what the solution is? We should see both. You know, the short term and the long term. And they have to balance each other. Right? Both are there. But we cannot compromise the long term just for the benefit of the short term. Do we want results?
Yes.
Did Prabhupada want results?
Yes.
But did Prabhupada also say, create favorable impression? If the person goes away angry, upset, then whose fault is it? It's our fault. I mean, your fault means our fault, you know? So, exactly. So, all right, thank you. We're moving on to the next one, and I'm sure you got more to say. Why do we have number 3 but not number 2? I didn't check this.
No, that's number 2, but that's number 2.
It's just a typo.
The number is wrong.
Okay, well, let's fix that. So can somebody tell us, so the number is wrong on this slide. So this should be number 2, right? Custom care?
Yeah. Oh.
See, that's what happens when you
hit edit. Control Z.
in a Mac.
Oh, just go to edit.
Okay. Yeah, we may want to do this later instead of ruining it. Okay, number 2, customer care. Somebody like to read?
The book distributor should endeavor to make every exchange with the public a positive experience, thus cultivating a favorable environment for continued book distribution and other preaching activities.
Okay. Positive experience, favorable environment. Customer care will be a whole lesson. We're going to talk about it later on in the coming days. It's an ongoing theme because it's the people. And the people are important because people is what it's all about. So we're going to leave that for later. Okay, 3 is again here, devotee welfare. Somebody else? I think it's off.
Okay, ISKCON nurtures the physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional development of each book distributor by looking after their individual needs and providing them with realistic prospects.
Okay. Is it clear what is addressed here?
Yes.
We're not only concerned about the people out there, we're also concerned about the people here. The people in our own group. We're concerned for the well-being of all the devotees. Anything that comes to your mind? Positive, negative? Those who already said? Yeah, over here. Please pass the mic.
Going back to my personal experience, there was a time when I was really sick, but I still wanted to go out on Sankirtan. So I was suggested by my ashram leader to, it's okay, you're sick, take 2 days off. So no rush, just get recovered, fully healed, and then you have ample time to go back again. But then I thought, oh no, I'll still come, because I really want to come, because it was a competitive time. So I went out and I got more sick, so then I couldn't even go for like another whole month. So that's why it's important to listen to the welfare when someone's giving a suggestion about your health in other areas.
Did you hear this?
Yes.
Has this ever happened to you? Somebody gave you good advice, but you didn't follow it, and then you had to pay the price. It cost you dearly.
Yes.
Instead of staying back for 2 or 3 days, it took him a whole month to recover, because he went out and he wrecked his health, and then he lost a whole month. So it is our duty to look out for each other and to help each other, to actually be concerned about the welfare of devotees. What's the most valuable asset that we have? Devotees. Also, what are we trying to do, right? We're trying to make devotees. We're trying to bring people to Krishna consciousness. But if we don't succeed in keeping the people happy, healthy, and productive in Krishna consciousness, then what are we trying to do? It doesn't really work. Yes?
What is ISKCON doing to keep the devotees' physical, mental, and emotional development well? To be honest with you, I don't find this statement to be true.
Well, it depends. I would not generalize. You know, ISKCON is not one place or one situation. We have 1,000 centers now worldwide, and some are doing tremendous work in this field, and some have not heard much about this or would not care that much about it. So depending on where your location is and your situation is, that's why we have to speak about these principles and values, because you, as the future leaders of ISKCON, are going to ensure that in your project, in your place, in your group, in your family, in your situation, this is being followed. I strongly believe that each and every individual can make a difference. Do you believe that too?
Yes.
Is it possible to make a difference?
It's impossible.
It is.
But it's not happening.
Well, we start with ourselves. Sometimes we are our own worst enemies. Like we heard in the case of this young gentleman here, very fired up, you know, robust looking, strong, healthy, you know, but not paying attention to good advice and ruining his own health. And then most likely ruining other people too, because if you are not sensitive to your own needs, you will also not be sensitive to other people's needs.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
I also believe that there's need of more, let's say, counselors.
Absolutely.
In each temple.
Absolutely, and that's why we're doing this course, because to me, you see, we cannot compartmentalize. It's not like you'll have the book distributors, the cooks, the pujaris, the managers. For me, every devotee is a preacher, every devotee is a counselor, every devotee has to be able to do these services and fulfill these roles, because this is our job description. This is where the buck stops. This is our duty. So, bend your mind around it. It doesn't matter which ashram, it doesn't matter which language group, it doesn't matter which continent or which planet you're on. If you're a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, you care about other devotees. What did Lord Chaitanya do? He was serving his devotees. He was organizing accommodation for them. He was organizing food for them. He made sure that people who didn't have proper means of sustenance, somebody would look for their economic situation. He was a sannyasi. It's not a sannyasi's job to do these things. But he was doing it. Why was he doing it? To teach us. If you want to be a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, you care for other devotees. You care for other living entities. Not just because it's politically correct, not just because it's, you know, something nice. You know, sometimes people come up to you and they ask, Prabhu, how is your health? Or, how you doing? And I say, terrible. And they say, fantastic, wonderful, Hare Krishna. And they walk away. How's your health? Well, I'm, you know, I have headaches, my back hurts, you know, I just had an operation. Oh, great! Hare Krishna, have a nice day. You know what I mean? It's not a mechanical thing. It's not just saying something. You have to actually pay attention. You have to actually mean it. It means spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional. And believe it or not, if you're chanting Hare Krishna for many years, for a few decades, at some point, you'll actually become human. You'll actually become human. And it's pretty nice, you know? Because it's nice to be amongst humans, you know? Because humans actually care. Do you know that Rakshasas won't eat ungrateful people? Do you know that? They don't eat ungrateful people. Because for them, That's a species they avoid. They do not eat ungrateful people. So, which means, yeah, somebody who cannot appreciate, somebody who lacks empathy, somebody who is not able to feel others' pain. They won't eat them because they know it's bad for digestion. They want to stay away from those guys. Best is Brahmins. They like Brahmins. Brahmins and babies. They like those. Not ungrateful people. So this is important stuff. Think about it. This is food for thought. Okay. Wow, the numbers are really interesting here. Got to tell our graphic designer guy to look at his, All right, number 4, accurate representation. Where's the mic? Yes.
Members of the public evaluate ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada and Lord Krishna on the basis of their personal contact with devotees.
Accurate representation. Any experiences in this regard? Microphone, over here.
In Brazil, and one time we
just keep it on. Don't turn the mic off. Yes.
Brazil one time in December marathon, I don't know which year, we stay in one corner and we look a big car and this guy looking us for maybe half an hour, no? One guy, and I searched him, and he told, come on, and he said, what happened with all of you? I said, what? And he said, because sometimes I'm laughing and have so good energy, no? And I said, because he's our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and he teach us, and he said, when I say this book talk about these topics, and he say no, I'm not interested in topic. I look your happy faces, and that is sufficient. That is enough for me. Give me these books. And I think that this is it.
Okay, thank you. So accurate representation. Any other positive or negative experiences? Have people ever asked you, are you from ISKCON?
Yes.
Do people ever ask you, are you from ISKCON?
Yes.
Yes. What's your answer?
Yes. No, well, I usually say, do you like ISKCON? I say, yes, I like it.
You qualified for it, right?
It's a positive experience. I distribute on board one time in books in rural sites. So there nobody knows about ISKCON or something, but they know, and I show the books in page, front page of Krishna's picture. Then by showing it, they take these books.
Okay, show them the pictures, people will say. Other experiences? You all right? No, you need the mic, otherwise they don't hear you.
I have experienced often, this is one of the reasons I stopped doing books. People very often tell me that we worship idols and they don't want to do anything to do with us.
Okay, we'll put that in the car park. Okay, can somebody write down worshiping idols? Can you write it? Thank you. You got a professional scribe here? Accurate representation. If you walk up to somebody and you ask them, who are you? And they tell you something completely different from what's obvious, it's a little disturbing, right? It's a little annoying. It's a little confusing. So, obviously, if you're in a situation where it's illegal or you're in a country where it's not allowed to distribute books, then you have to know how to move in those territories. We're speaking now for the majority of the world where it's okay. You can do what you want to do. So, one good point is, you ask people, do you like ISKCON? Do you like Hare Krishna? Usually you can tell by the demeanor. But it's good to know what are you part of and what are you representing. Because otherwise it becomes a little strange if you tell people, no, 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 no. And then they may take the book, they may give you the money, but then they start looking at the book, and on every page it says ISKCON, Hare Krishna, ISKCON, Hare Krishna, this, that. They're not going to be very happy, because what you said and what they find in the book is two different things. And that qualifies you as a liar, as a cheater, and that creates very bad result. So better just say yes, Hare Krishna. And sometimes people may say, okay, I'm not into it, I don't like it, or I'm not ready for this. So be it. So be it. We'll speak more about that later on, but I'll just give you a short little story on this. I was in the Ukraine taking a night train from Kiev to Donetsk. And when you get into the night trains, there's all these people who try to move their luggage into the compartments. Have you ever taken night trains? No, you guys don't travel by trains, but anyway, you can imagine. And there was two guys, and they looked very strong. They had big necks and tattoos and shaved heads. And one came really close up to me and he said, Krishna eat! Which means, are you a Hare Krishna? And I was like, yeah! Hare Krishna, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm a Hare Krishna. And I was, trying to find some clue, like what's Krishna telling me? Is this a good thing or not such a good thing? He's like, yeah, sure, I'm Hare Krishna. And he said, thank you very much for giving this knowledge to all the people. That was close. And then they were in the compartment right next to ours. So I was with the devotee, and he was there with his friend, the other big guy, and with his wife and his mother and his small boy, baby. So then in the course of the train ride, he starts asking me all these questions. He said, I have all these books, I'm reading all these books. So how do you chant japa, How do you do this? And what do you have to focus on? Like you pray, or you just say, or you hear, or you think, or... So we had a little japa seminar there on the train, with the big guy. And then after that, I was thinking I have to give them prasadam, because, obviously he's interested, but the rest of the group, So, but I didn't know, I didn't have any prasad. But then I remembered, the devotees in Kiev, they gave me this big bag of Mahaprasad for a night train. And I was, what are they thinking? I'm sitting on the train all night eating Mahaprasad or what? If people give you Mahaprasad, never refuse it. Often it's not for you, it's for somebody else. You're only the one who is bringing it to that other person. So always accept it and then distribute it. So I remembered, hey, I have that bag. So I knocked on their compartment, it was the next morning, and on their table there was bottles of beer and all kinds of unmentionable things, and I brought cakes, cookies, and nice things, and they were like, hey, now we're talking. And they took the prasad, and then we arrived in Donetsk, and it was about 2 or 3 degrees, and it was windy and raining, like this morning, but more rain. And I got off the train, and nobody was there to pick me up. Has this ever happened to you?
Yes.
Or is it just me? It's the typical Hare Krishna movie, right? So, and I was thinking, oh Krishna, thank you for appreciating my endeavor. And where are you guys? And then I saw them coming, running. And they brought big garland, big garland, And just at that moment, when they gave me the garland, the whole family was coming out of the train. So I took the garland, and I put it on the small boy. And everybody, the whole family was like, wow! And he was feeling like the prince, you know, and he was like, hey, I got the big gun. That same evening, the man came to the temple, and he participated for 3 hours. Korah Arti, Kirtan, book distribution seminar, Prasad, the whole thing. He said, now my family is convinced that you guys are good. Now they're convinced. Before they thought this is crazy, this is stupid, this doesn't work, these guys are fanatics, they're a bunch of... But now they're convinced. What was the point we were talking about? Before I got carried away? Accurate representation, yes. Don't be shy, don't be afraid to say, yes, I'm a Hare Krishna. Yes, of course I'm a Hare Krishna. You know that three-quarters of the universe, of the whole entire existence is devotees? There is only a few ignorant people. The majority is devotees. When you go out on Sankirtan, you don't go out alone. I tell people, we are distributing these books here. And then I go like this, and the people are looking at me. We? Who is we? I say, no, there's me, and there's a lot of others, you know. There's all my friends, and then there's the whole group Parampara, and there's 33 crore devas, you know, like, there's a lot of people there, you know. And you're just one person. Come on, take this book, give me the money, all right? So, it's all a matter of perspective. If you think there is so many karmis out there, and there is just me, it's me against the rest of the universe, you know? That's not a fight that you can win. But if you realize, I'm part of something bigger. Have you ever wondered why the postmen, why the policemen, why they're so assertive? They're just regular people. They put on a little uniform, and all of a sudden they become big, you know? Ishwaras, right? They have all that video, all that power and potency. Why? Because they're representing something bigger. So when you go out to preach to the Srila Prabhupada's books, you're not going out on your own behalf. You're not going out because you need to take something from these people, but you're going out to help people and to give them the message of Krishna. And that empowers you. That means you're actually empowered to do the good work. So, but for that we have to know who we are and where we fit in. So accurate representation. We're moving on. Huh? Number 5, okay. You got the numbers a little mixed up, but we're going to work on it. We're going to figure it out.
Number 5, ideal character. All book distributors are expected to display ideal character and to interact with the public with politeness and respect.
Okay, did you ever meet somebody who had a good experience with devotees, and just because of that, they were really happy to meet you?
Yeah, one lady came to our table and she said, I'm not going to take any books from you guys because I'm a Catholic. And we said, well, that's alright, our philosophy is not against any other religion. And have a good day. And we just smiled to her. And in about 15 minutes she came back and she gave us $5. She said, I'm going to take it just because you was polite with me and you didn't start arguing with us or anything. And so she took a book. She gave a nation.
Has this ever happened to you? Yeah. And how many times have we told people, or we met people, who were like born again, you know? You's all going to hell! Have you ever met them?
Yes, always.
Have you ever met a born again Hare Krishna?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fanatical Hare Krishnas? Huh? How did it make you feel? Terrible, right? Not a great experience. So if you don't like it, don't do it to others. It's very simple. It's important that we pay attention to these things, because this can happen. Sometimes we feel a little aggressive or a little depressed or frustrated, and we think like, okay, this person, I can vent, I can put all my negative emotions on this person. And what happens? It makes it worse. Because whatever you put out there, it comes back 5 or 10 times more. And you know what's weird? However you leave a person, with that mood, with that spirit, you will continue your next interaction with the next person. So if I am vengeful, if I am aggressive, if I am derogatory, if I'm in a bad mood, how do I continue with the next person? Worse. And from there, it's the downward spiral. And it goes to the point of no return, where you can pick fights, you can scream and yell and shout, and I'm sure some of us have actually done it. It can happen, believe it or not, even to nice devotees. That just because they're not capable of catching it before it's too late, they go into that downward spiral. And sometimes they just become depressed and they just go very, internal and become dysfunctional. And sometimes they become aggressive and start attacking people, verbally or physically. And it can create big trouble. So please be mindful, ideal character. They asked Prabhupada, how do we know who's a devotee? Prabhupada said, if you see a gentleman or a lady, that's a devotee. That is one of my followers. That is one of my disciples. So Prabhupada wanted ideal character. It is imperative. We'll speak more about this. We move on to the next point. Honesty. Who's got the mic? Pass it over to your friend. If you got any friends. Yes.
Devotees should be scrupulously honest in all their dealings with the public.
Have you ever been honest and it paid off and people appreciate it?
Yeah, recently one lady, she was paying online to me using something she was paying. She paid with a donation already. And then later on she happened to, by mistake, she paid me later again. She paid me like $25 more. And I replied, thank you. She goes, I'm sorry, I was not supposed to pay, I wanted to pay to someone else. Then I was not in close proximity or anywhere. If I wanted, I could have just ignored the whole thing and kept $25. But I just returned back the money and she was very appreciative of the whole thing. She said, thank you for being honest and thank you for keeping your word.
Thank you for sharing, Prem.
I have one experience in Uruguay. I was giving small books distribution, and one lady, like 50 years old, she gave me a donation, a small book, big money, and she gave me like 3 bills, small bills, and in the middle there were 100 bills, dollars, mixed with those. She gave it to me, and when I take the money, I saw that 100 bill. So I said, oh, I think that this is yours. It wasn't the same as she opened her eyes, said, oh, thank you so much. It was 100 bills for one small book. And she was very happy, and that was not the end. Like 5 days later, I was doing in the same place. And I was talking with a girl, like 15, 16 years old, and I showed her the books, and she said, oh yes, I will take it. I am the daughter of the one that you gave $100 return, because you confused. And she take a book also.
Thank you. Very well. Wonderful. And we also met the others, the downside, so, How important is honesty in the life of a devotee? 100%. You're shaking your head? Very good. Like this? Depends, right? Lie to some, don't lie to others. Keep different phones for different people. It doesn't work. We have to be scrupulously honest. Right? It says Caesar's wife has to be above all suspicion. Because she's the wife of the emperor. There cannot be any doubt about her character. If you are to be who you proclaim to be, spiritual people, people who are helping others, you cannot have flaws of character. Yes, you will make mistakes, because that is, to err is human, but not flaws of character. And honesty is a flaw of character. It's something that we have to be very conscientious about. Otherwise, we will have to deal with the repercussions of it. And what's the biggest repercussion? Have you ever lost taste in chanting? Have you ever lost taste in reading? Have you ever lost taste in your spiritual practice? Has it ever happened to you?
Yes.
Thank you for your honesty. And then, when you introspect and you ask Krishna, why is it that I'm doing the same things that normally I like doing, and right now I'm not feeling the taste, I'm not feeling the love. Why don't I like chanting right now? It's the same mantra, I'm the same person, but it's not working. Why? Why is it not working?
Because flaws. Anarthas.
Offenses. Aparats. I've committed aparats. I've been offensive, usually, towards holy name, towards other people. Have you ever noticed when you're in an argument, you're into some, imbroglio, some tensious situation? After that, it's very difficult to calm the mind. It's very difficult to find peace in your bhajan. Sometimes it can go on for hours. It can go on for days. I've seen devotees, they went into an encounter where they started fighting with others, and it ruined their day, it ruined their week. Don't let that happen to you. Don't let it happen to you. Catch it before it gets too big. So, honesty, very important point. We're moving on. We got two more. Sound spiritual practice.
I have a good one about that.
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, my Guru Maharaj. My Guru Maharaj, Tamal Krishna Goswami, asked a very advanced devotee to take me out and train me to sell books. His name is Radha Gopinath. He lives in Alachua. This happened a long, long time ago. So I was very excited to go with him. So we went out, and he had his book bag in one arm, and in the other arm he carried his books. And he started walking, and he would say, books, books, and he was walking just saying books, and people would come, give him the money, and he would sell the book. I saw that with my own eyes. I said, what kind of training is this? It's not the other word for me.
This is called Raganuga. You know?
I saw it.
The highest level. There are some people, they can sit under a tree, and people just come. And they pick up something, and they put some money there, and they walk away. And nothing was said, but everything was communicated. But those people are rare. And it's not so easy to imitate. It's not so easy to emulate that. If you're not on that level, then maybe you learn how to present a book and how to say something more than just books. I had a god sister in New York. She was a small, frail girl. Oftentimes her voice was bad, so she wouldn't speak. She would just have a little card which said, "Excuse me, I lost my voice. These are spiritual books. Please give a donation. Thank you. God bless." And you should just hand this card to people and smile. People would look at the book, they would look at her, they would give her the money and walk away. And that's how she did Sankirtan. But it's not something you can teach to others. That's more advanced, high level. And so, everybody has to endeavor according to their level of realization. because we have to walk our talk. And for us to be real means we have to be who we are, with our gross and subtle bodies, and we have to communicate the way that we can communicate with people. So, it is good to learn these arts. You can try them out, and they will be forced at some point in time. But it's also good to know that when people ask you, what kind of books are they, that you don't just say, books. Have you heard of books? Like sometimes people come and they ask, what is it? And I say, we call them books. We call them books. It's a joke. But some people laugh, some people don't think it's funny, some people think it's very funny. And you just, you distribute like that. It's possible. But not everybody can relate to it, not everybody can appreciate it. So learn how to be yourself and speak according to your level of realization. I've met some devotees who told people, by the mercy of Sri Sri Radha Govinda, we are spreading pure love of God, Krishna Prema, all over New York City, no, all over the United States, no, all over the universe. And you can help. Give us a nickel, a dime, a quarter, $1, and you get one of these books. And people will like, okay, all right, okay, here, take $1, I take the book. Because it's not so much what you say, but it's much more how you say it. People will not remember so much the words, but they will remember the mood, the attitude. What is it that you project? Most times we ask people, what did the guy tell you? They won't be able to articulate. They won't be able to tell you the story. But they will be able to give you an emotional picture of what transpired. Oh, I met this special person and they just gave me a gift. Did you buy something? No, I didn't buy anything. He gave me a gift and then I gave him a gift too. And we both hugged and everybody was happy. That's how many times people experience the exchange. How many people actually get up in the morning thinking, today I'm going to go and buy a Bhagavad Gita? Tell me, roughly, how many people? No, it's not true. In 36 years, I was in Bangkok on Khao San Road and I met a young couple from the Ukai. Are you Ukai? From the Ukai? And they were backpackers. And the girl went like, I woke up this morning in my bed and I was thinking I need to read the Bhagavad Gita. And here is the Bhagavad Gita. I cannot believe it. How is this possible? I said, well, it's your lucky day, darling. You can do the donation and keep it. At one time. But otherwise, I've not met people who woke up in the morning and wanted to buy a Bhagavad Gita. So, for the other people that you meet, what is your objective? What is your mood? What is it that you'd like to give, that you'd like to share? What is it that you want to communicate? So, and that depends a lot on spiritual practice, which we will talk about after the break. But are there any questions regarding these topics? We got about a minute or two before we break for lunch, because we got to keep it on time and tidy. We got 2 people here. Yes?
I just want to mention that usually people, like, they don't wake up to, okay, I'm going to get Bhagavad Gita today, but they just say, oh, my friends had it. And I've been heard about it so many times.
Yes.
That's what happens usually.
That's what happens.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, my friend's reading, I should get it because I'm kind of missing out.
That's a good situation. Yeah. Thank you.
My question is, what's the fine line between honesty and book distribution? Because sometimes you gotta twist a little with honesty.
How about the twist? Can you hear that? You gotta twist it a little. How much is a little? Like where you come from, how much twist is allowed? Like,
we don't lie to them. still at the same time they're not telling the absolute truth.
Okay, we put the twist in the car park because
Like this book talks about religion. Most people is like canas. What
It's
is
about
it?
God.
Talks about God. That's not about God.
Okay, twisting honesty is in the car park. We're not going to deal with this before lunch. All right.
Versus taking a risk.
Okay, long-term vision and rest. Versus rest. Okay. Risk. Taking risk. Okay. You see? That's what happens when you're not paying attention. Risk becomes rest. A small little difference, but so thank you for your great audience participation. It's been a fun morning. We heard a few things, we saw a few things. I hope you're not getting too tired of this. There is lunch downstairs. Even if it works short term, in the long term, usually it doesn't work. And even if you get away by doing so, Krishna is not pleased. And if Krishna is not pleased, then we're not pleased. And Krishna will let you know.
It's not a transactional relationship. It's not a transactional relationship. It's about a transformative.
People are not looking to buy more things. They look for transformative relationships. Okay, we got one for each side here. Anything else that you remember? Good for this.
In general,
You remember your name? What's your name?
Nanda Jivan Krishna Das.
Nanda Jivan Krishna Das. Okay. Must be disciple of His Holiness Jagatara Swami Maharaj. Yes. Very good. Because sometimes it's hard, you know? You travel a lot, you do many things, and you forget, where am I, you know? What the heck am I doing here? What's my name? And then you drag yourself in front of the mirror, right? And you look in the mirror and you say, ah, it's you, okay. And where am I? And what am I doing here? It can happen. So it's important that we learn how to pay attention. Because otherwise people will tell you things and you just blank out. You just can't relate to them. And it makes it a little harder to build that element of trust when they see that we're not paying attention to them. Because we got our own little movie playing in our head. Did that ever happen to you? You talked to somebody and the movie was too loud. And you know, you saw somebody moving their mouth, but you couldn't really hear what they were saying. Where attention goes, energy flows. You can write that down in your handbooks. Where attention goes, energy flows. If you put your attention into something, your energy will go there. Where attention goes, energy flows. Has it ever happened to you that you were reading and after half a page or a page, you ask yourself, what did I just read? I know I read something because my eyes were going over the sentences and through the paragraphs. But what did I just read? Has this ever happened to you? Or is it just me?
all the time.
All the time, right?
Yes.
So, but we're not just, you know, it's not an exercise just in turning pages or... Of course, if you're in Bhava or Prema, like that famous devotee from South India who was illiterate, but his guru told him to read the Bhagavad Gita, it's too loud. And he was crying. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared him, you're the Acharya, you're the real teacher of Bhagavad Gita, because you've understood the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. But if people ask you, what is it that I just told you? And you go, why not? Because I wasn't paying attention, or because I didn't understand, or because I was really not paying attention because I was not interested in what you had to tell me. Because often it boils down to that. If your life depends on something, Like your airline screwed up and you're on the phone at the helpline and, you know, you got to sort out that flight which you think your life depends upon, right? You're pretty attentive to detail. You're pretty much switched on, focused on the task at hand. But if you're not, then it's just like the chirping of the birds, right? You know, just some background noise. So please be attentive because it makes the difference in the world. If you have one brief moment of connection, that can last a person for a lifetime. Did you ever have a brief moment of connection with a sadhu, with a saintly person? Yes. It's a rhetorical question. You wouldn't be sitting here if you wouldn't have had many of those moments. You would not be here today. We've had many of those moments. Otherwise, we would not be in this movement. But oftentimes these moments happen and we don't even pay attention. Because the sadhus, they're merciful, they're magnanimous. Buddhidharjana. They're ready to give us their affection, their attention. They're ready to give us Krishna. But are we ready to receive them? One person said, you know, where are the gurus? Where are the real, true spiritual masters? That's not the question. Where are the sincere disciples? That is the question. There's plenty of gurus. There's plenty of sadhus. There's plenty of people who can give you Krishna. The question is, what's the size of my cup? How big is my container? How much attention do I have? That much is the size of my cup. So if you want to get more blissful, have more nectar in your cup, well, work on expanding the scope of your attention. Now, how to do that? How to expand your scope of attention? Well, one good way of how to do that is by feeling an urgent need. Like when you're hungry, food is pretty meaningful when you're hungry, right? You travel and sometimes you miss a meal or two or three. And then it becomes like something that you feel strongly about. I need food now in order to survive. You're dehydrated. You can feel it, like your energy levels are really going down. By the way, these water jugs are for you. They're not just for decorative purposes. You can actually use them and drink from the cups. Did you know that if you're going dehydrated, that your attention span, your performance span, your energy levels will drastically decrease just because you don't have enough fluids in your system? Did you ever drive a car and it ran out of oil or out of,
Air fluid?
Yeah, cool air fluid? Not pretty cool, right? It's hot, yeah, it's hot. And then boom! And then you're not going anywhere. All of a sudden you're just stranded by the side of the road. And we've all had those experiences in life. So take your water, and don't just take your water. Take every day sufficient quantity, sufficient doses of Krishna Katha. KK equals KC squared. What does this mean?
Krishna consciousness times 2 to the power of
As much Krishna Katha as you absorb daily, that is the state of your Krishna consciousness. The ear is representing the sky. How big is the sky, approximately? Just roughly? Pretty big, yeah? It's pretty close to it. How pretty big? Kind of this big, exactly. Kind of pretty unlimited, right? From what we are concerned about. The ear's ability to hear is pretty much similar as the sky, unlimited. Our acharyas tell us that we should hear Krishna Katha from the right source for a very long time. That doesn't mean just one shloka. That doesn't mean just, oh, okay, I turned a few pages and, boxes ticked off. I did my reading today. What did you read, Prabhu? About Krishna. Yeah, what about Krishna? What did you read? So ask yourself this question. What did I read just now? And in this way, you will actually be able to retain more and more. And then, when you start talking to people, your speech will actually reflect what you have read. Have you ever noticed when you're attentive in reading, all of a sudden you're speaking, your quality of speaking improves, and you start actually mentioning things that you read about? It's pretty far out. And all of a sudden people go like, wow. Wow. Can you tell me that again? And then you're like, yeah, I just made that up. I just, threw that out of my, out of my elbow. No. That's Shastra. That's the example. When you're actually speaking Shastra, you're actually quoting either ad verbatim, means word for word, or you're paraphrasing, or you're just giving people the context in a nutshell, just in short little words. You're conveying the same message. Have you ever seen how it touches people's hearts? How they're actually like, wow. But if we're just speculating and we're just talking, and talking and talking and more talking, and it's just kind of, and then the people are like, bye, I gotta go now. No, wait, I got more to tell you. No, it was enough. Huh? Don't you want the book? No, thank you, it is okay. So learn how to absorb and retain by attentive, conscious reading, and then you can actually communicate these messages. Some more points from this morning's discussion? Good foundation. Good foundation, yes. Work on your foundation. And it's not something that you do once, it's something that you do daily. It's something that has to happen continuously, working on the foundation. Because we're living in very transient times, just like the world is an ever-shifting place. And there's only one thing certain. What is that? Uncertainty, exactly. That everything is continuously changing and moving sideways. So, if you want certainty in your life, if you want stability in your life, if you want happiness in your life, base it on Krishna. Because Krishna is the bedrock. Krishna is the foundation. Don't build on sand. Don't build on mud. Base your life on Krishna. And that means base your life on Krishna Katha. You can make a living. You can spend your entire life just studying the Bhagavatam, living the Bhagavatam, and sharing the Bhagavatam with others. Do you believe that?
Yes.
You sure? Yeah, absolutely. Because the Bhagavatam is non different from Krishna. Krishna is svadamapagate dharma jnana divisaha kalam rashta drishamishra puranarkodunodita. When Krishna left this world, all the dharma, all the religious principles took shelter in the Bhagavatam. And that's why Bhagavatam represents all of Krishna's qualities. And even though imperfectly composed, even though it may become translated or interpreted or narrated in a way that's not considered 100% perfect, people who are honest, truthful, and virtuous, they will appreciate it. Why? Because the intention is sincere. The intention is virtuous. So please read the Bhagavatam every day. Don't waste a day that you're not reading Prabhupada's books. Yes, there are other books, there are other things to do, there are other things to read. Actually, no. That's not true. Because everything that has value, that has truth, that has virtue, is a derivative and it is based on the Bhagavatam. Otherwise, it's simply a disturbance. It's simply a mental concoction. It will simply create some static. Have you heard that static before? It's kind of annoying, isn't it? It kind of gets you after some time, right? In a similar way, have you ever been like to the temple or to the Dham where you'd be absorbed in your spiritual practice and all of a sudden you sit in an airport lounge or at a train station and then the news flash comes on and some very, assertive person starts speaking some mundane politics or sports or some other kind of stuff, and you're like, don't give me that, I don't want that in my system. I live in San Francisco in the Bay Area, and there are these, what do you call them, buoys, where the water goes down? No, drains. Yeah, and it says, no dumping. Drains in the bay. So you should have signs on your ears, like no dumping. Drains in the heart. Whatever you put in your ears will end up in your heart. All that sound vibration that you consume. And that includes all those electronic innuendos, all that stuff that you tap on and move your fingers about. It all ends up, it all drains into the heart. If you don't want that, then just limit it or cut it out, fade it out, okay? So we're continuing our discussion on regular study, reading Prabhupada's books every day. And one main reason why we do so, let me read this first. Book distributors should be conversant with Srila Prabhupada's books through regular study and should thus become expert in presenting and selling books on their own merit. What are some of the reasons why we should read Prabhupada's books? We got two microphones here. On both sides we have a microphone. I know this is the graveyard shift, but why are you reading Prabhupada's books?
To get personal purification.
Personal purification, okay. What else?
Sharpen our intelligence. Sharpen our intelligence.
Sharpen intelligence, yes, before and behind.
To have Prabhupada's association.
To associate with Prabhupada. These books are not different. Prabhupada said these books are my emotional ecstasies. Yes, right in front of you. Same thing? Okay. Something else.
Knowing everything about Krishna.
Knowing everything about Krishna. If you want to know more about Krishna, you're going to read Prabhupada's books. No. Mike. Where are the mics? We need some runners here.
To learn the culture and the philosophy of Krishna consciousness.
Learn the culture and philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Yes, very good. What else? Where are the mics on this side? Oh, you got one back there. Okay. You have a point to make, sir? Go ahead, go for it.
So you know what you're selling.
So you know yourself. Yes, know thyself.
Know what you're selling in your own books.
Oh, know what you're selling. Well, that's a good point too. Has it ever happened to you that people ask you, what does it say there in your book? Yeah. And you said, I don't know. My guru wrote these books for you to read and for me to sell. Is that very convincing? Did you ever go into a shop, into a store, or into a restaurant, and the salesperson knew less about the product than you?
Yeah.
How much faith, how much trust do you have in that person to purchase something in that store? Very little, right?
I learned numbness. I hear sell after.
You think like it's time to move on. I want to go somewhere else because this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is really going to work out, because, okay. Another reason.
To increase our conviction so that we can distribute books with
Increase our determination so we can distribute more books. Yes, very good point. Here in front. Where's the second mic? We have two of them. Okay. Yeah, we get to you. I'm sorry. We got all about it.
To quote the right sloka at the right time.
Quote the right sloka at the right time. Yes, thank you. Very good. Yes, you're on.
To understand the truth. To understand truth.
To understand truth. Yes, very good. You also have one? Okay, one that's behind you.
To become wiser.
To become wiser. Yes, it's always good. Mara Govinda, and then in the front.
To have clarity of what we are doing and why we are doing it.
clarity of what we're doing and why we're doing it.
To wake up ourselves to relations to relation with Krishna.
To wake up ourselves to our relationship with Krishna, yes. Yes, thank you. Are these valid reasons? Are these important reasons? Very much so. So I hope you took note of them, because sometimes the mind says, reading, I read before, I read last year, I've read these books. Huh? Does your mind ever tell you that? Do you have a mind? Yes. I ask people on the street, how's the mind? Are you mindful or are you mindless? Huh? Mindful. Okay, very good. You can use these lines, You don't know how to talk to people? Talk about the mind. People like to talk about it. Because the mind is a reality. And then I go off in a little side, drama, where I say, people say, what? Do I have a mind? No, you're talking to yourself all day long, right? No, of course you have a mind. And you have to learn how to take care of the mind. Another very important point why we read Prabhupada's books is because he asked us to do so. The instruction of the spiritual master is the life and soul of the disciple. If we do not follow Prabhupada's order to read these books, we're actually offensive. And that's very counterproductive in spiritual life. He asked us to read these books daily. Prabhupada stayed up every night to write these books. And when everyone was sleeping, Prabhupada was up translating his books. So if we're not reading Prabhupada's books, basically what we're saying to Prabhupada is, sorry, you wasted your time. Because, nowadays people don't really read, So you kind of wasted your time. I mean, thanks, but, it's just not really useful because, we're not really used to books anymore nowadays, We just tap on screens, and do all kinds of things, but we don't read anymore. So that's a real sign of poverty, and it's also a sign of hypocrisy. Because on one side, we claim to be devotees, we claim to be knowledgeable, we claim to be the authority in the field that we're professing to be in, and on the other side, we're ignorant about the basics of our tradition. And it may even happen so that you need a person who knows more than you. It happens, especially in this culture, in this cultural context that we're in here. Now, people don't expect you to know everything about everything, but they expect you to have an idea. So if somebody comes up to you and asks, the banyan tree, well, where is that in your book? And you go, banyan tree? Trees? Trees? So there is the banyan tree. Yes, 15.1. Roots going up and down. It's the banyan tree, 15th chapter. You got to know that. You got to know where to find those things. That's basic stuff. But how often do we miss the basic stuff? So he continues reading. And also another reason is, if you really want to feel joy in life, if you really want to feel ecstasy, like real nourishment, real happiness and satisfaction, read Prabhupada's books every day. And on Sankirtan, you have full blessings to do that. There's so many other services where there's very little time, very little scope for reading a lot of Prabhupada's books. But when you're on book distribution, you cannot do this service without reading. So please take your chance and make it a daily practice. You can read all day, but at least read an hour or two. I mean, that's like minimum. That's really minimum what you have to read. What do you think?
Exactly like that.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Thank you.
He doesn't.
He needs the mic. Yeah, I know he needs the mic. He looked very grave, very deep.
When you mentioned before that, sometimes the people ask you what is this book about? It happened to me the first time I went out, and they asked me, and I happened to meet a lady that she was a teacher. She's a philosophy teacher, and she asked me, what this book about? And I said, well, I don't know. And she said, what? I take the book, but shame on you. You should know what you're giving to others. I take it because I'm interested, and that was pretty powerful. Another thing that you just said, Srila Prabhupada said, if you don't read all my books, you will fall down. That's pretty heavy.
That's pretty heavy. And we have seen it happen. I have seen people in this movement who talk faster, who run farther, who jump higher than all of us together in the room combined. I've seen some pretty spectacular people who really did magnificent things. But the main reasons why they're not here today, oftentimes, they did not read. They were just busy working, getting things done. But they didn't take the time to actually study Prabhupada's books deeply. And the second reason often was they were not team players. They were loners. They could only do things by themselves. They could not work with others and pass the ball. We'll speak more about that, about team play. Because what's the name of the game? What does Sankirtan mean? Together, congregational chanting. It's a team effort. It's not that one person can do it. You remember Lord Chaitanya and his Sankirtan parties? His dancers and singers and cymbals and drums, and it's a whole team effort. And the whole energy comes out very powerful. So Prabhupada has been empowered to write these books, and as a token of gratitude and of appreciation, we should read them every day. And that should never stop. There's really no excuse. You can be in the middle of Mayapur, in the middle of a festival, in the middle of a book distribution course. Still, you can find time to read. Because the day has got, how many hours? What about in Bangladesh? How many hours in a day? Yeah? What about in America? 24. Russia? 24. Okay. Bosnia? Roughly? Just about 24, right? Africa? 24. So 24 hours. I mean, what do you do in 24 hours? You can't really sleep more than 6, maximum 7 hours. After that, it gets boring, Your back starts hurting. So then what? Yeah, you can get up, So then you take a bath, put on clothes, and chant Hare Krishna. And after you've done that for a few hours, then what? Yeah, stuff your face. Okay, how long can you do that? For about an hour each day. You go sleep again, you eat more, you sleep again. How long can you do that? After a while, it all gets boring, and the mind says, come on, give me something to chew on. When the mind starts chewing on its own tail, it becomes kind of like, yeah, you know what it feels like. You've already thought all the things that there were to think about, and you already contemplated all the problems that were problematic. And then what? Then it's time to pick up the Bhagavatam, right? And you just pick up one of those books and you start going deeply into Shastra. And what happens? All of a sudden, your mind becomes peaceful, your mind becomes happy, and your mind says, hey, there is something here. Why did you wait for so long? And then if you really want to experience exhilaration, ecstasy, joy, you go out and you distribute to others. And then you will experience something very powerful, that you're not walking on your own strength, you're not moving by your own volition, but you get actually empowered, you get actually carried by the higher potency. And that is truly exhilarating, that is truly mesmerizing. Have you had experiences like that in your life? Where you felt like you weren't moving on your own strength, but some other divine force was actually moving you? And you all have, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here. And that's pretty spectacular. So that is available when we read Prabhupada's books. So regular study. Also, we would actually be hypocrites, and that's not a good thing to do. Then point 9, harmony with other services. Can somebody read this? We're going to fix up the numbers. It's already arranged, but just not yet implemented. Point 9, harmony with other services.
The major Buddhist food appreciates the value of each devotee and their unique contribution, and comprehends how all services are interdependent.
Yep. Maturity means the balance between courage and consideration. You can write that down. Maturity means balance between courage and consideration. Has it ever happened to you that you were very courageous, but not very considerate? It can happen, right? And sometimes we're very considerate, but not at all courageous. So a mature person is a person who has balance between courage and consideration. That means to see the interdependence and the connectivity between the different departments and the different activities in Krishna consciousness. Because while doing this team effort, we're realizing that we're depending on so many other devotees. What if there are no books? What if there are no vehicles? What if there's no prasadam? What if there's nobody at the temple to answer the phone? Have you ever called your own temple?
Yeah.
Yeah? What was your experience?
Nobody answers?
Nobody answers, yes. Or the phone is busy. Or a person picks up the phone and starts yelling at you. Or they didn't speak English.
Or
and you're like,
there's nobody home.
Or there's nobody home. Yeah. So, that's why it's important we understand the harmony between different services, and we put some attention, some care, and some affection into these other areas of devotional service also, because we'll win or lose as a team. Every chain is as strong as its weakest link. Whatever is the weakest, that's what's going to snap. That's what's going to give in. So, that means interdependence. You're both dependent on each other. It's not, okay, we're the ones and the others are not important, or they think we're the ones and the others are not important, and everyone's fighting for supremacy. Sounds like a familiar scenario nowadays, right? A lot of relationships are going that way, and that's why they're not going very well. So as Sankirtan devotees, this is a very important point to contemplate, to create that harmony so that people will actually work together as teams. Any questions to that? Yeah. Get a couple of hands out here.
Is there like a question?
Sure,
okay.
question.
I had this experience when I was distributing books. We have this, we did shifts to distribute books, like 4 hours each person. So I was in the morning section, and then there's this Montague, she was the afternoon section. But I'm always covering up for her. But still, she's like always nagging, like.
You always cover for her?
Yeah.
So what? You do her shift?
Yeah, I do her shift in mine.
Okay.
But then she's like, she's not like grateful. I don't know if I should say grateful because she keeps nagging like, you're not doing a big deal.
You are?
I'm not doing a big deal. Like,
Okay,
it's not so.
like she's not doing a big deal.
Yeah, that she was doing this before. Like, she was doing more hours before. Okay. Then if I'm covering up for her, it doesn't mean anything. I actually serious service. But the manner at which she was like putting it to me was like hurting me because I was like,
Did you express that to her?
no, I didn't say, I haven't, it's still going on, but I haven't said anything to her yet.
Have you talked to your
superior?
Yeah.
No.
Well, you should, because you're feeling strongly about it, and it's not, you know, win-win doesn't mean I win twice and you lose twice, you know. Win-win means both parties are equally benefiting from this experience. So you should not allow yourself to be exploited or abused by other devotees just in the name of cooperation and it's all okay, you know, you have to be harmonious and cooperate. You have to know what is proper and what is not proper. So express to that person. If it doesn't work, then address the issue to your leader and resolve it. Okay? You have one over there?
What happens if the situation is reversed, where the mature book distributor appreciates and values other devotees' contributions to the Sankirtan movement, but the book distributor is not taken seriously, like you're being told you should do some service at the temple.
Yeah.
But you as a book distributor, you know that you rely on the pujari to dress really very nicely to attract those people who you distributed books to. But then the pujari tells you, you need to come and do some service at the temple. You know, where's the harmony there? How do you work around that?
Well, let's put it that way. When you're a book distributor, you're a preacher, and a preacher sees where there is need. And when there's emergency at the temple, you try to help out as much as possible. It's just natural. You want the deities to be happy, you want the temple to go on nicely, you want things to flourish. But if it becomes a regular scenario, not just once in a month or once in a festival, but if it becomes like a weekly or a daily affair, that the floors are not cleaned, the offerings are not being made, the deities are not getting dressed, you have to speak out, you have to discuss it with your authority. Because you cannot do your service because you have to do other people's service. So basically it's just a matter of arranging things properly. The management has to sort this thing out.
So how do you change the mindset that book distribution is actually a real service?
That it is a real service, not just a luxury or something that, you know, can be done or not be done.
Distribution you can do at any time.
Yeah, well, then you have to read Prabhupada's quotes. You have to study what it is that Prabhupada said about it. Like Prabhupada said, I want that my books should be very widely distributed, as many as possible. We want to flood the world with our books. So go on this way and Krishna will surely bless you. And so on. Regarding book distribution, somehow the distribution must be doubled and tripled as far as possible. Do it. Distribution of my books is the most important thing. These other things, such as selling incense and records, are not as important as this. I want that my books be distributed in huge quantities, and thus will be able to thoroughly convince the majority of the population, especially there in America. Have you read these books? How many of you have read this? Okay, take a note. Nectar Book Distribution. It's available in the stalls. You can also get it as a free ebook on Krishna.com in the ebook section. You can download it. A lot of Prabhupada's quotes, a lot of nectar, a lot of realizations, a lot of strategy on all the things we're talking about. Took many, many years to compile this book. And you want to know something about book distribution? It's in here, okay? So, a very important point that you're bringing up, sometimes the leaders are not educated about the importance of book distribution. They think, oh, you know, our temple's going on, we have our festivals, we have our finances, we have our congregation, and yeah, book distribution, it's, you know, it's there. Maybe, maybe not, but we're keeping things going. So, when Prabhupada came to a temple, the first thing he would ask, how's the book distribution? Because that was his real concern. He said, whichever temple distributes the most books is the temple I will visit first. If you want me to live forever, distribute my books. These books are my devotional ecstasies. Prabhupada said these books are not written by me. Krishna dictated them to me directly. Because it's not humanly possible for a person to write 80 books in 10 years on such highly spiritual topics. So the importance of book distribution is being felt when we understand Prabhupada's instruction, and that means we read the books, we hear his lectures. Are you hearing Prabhupada's lectures? Have you heard all of Prabhupada's lectures? Who has read all of Prabhupada's books? That's about 5 people in the room. You know, I've done surveys all over the world. Less than 10% of our congregation and our members have all the books, and less than 10% have read all the books. It's pretty scary, right? You can do that experiment in your congregation. Ask people on a fine Sunday afternoon, how many of you have a full set of Prabhupada's books? Show of hands. And I guarantee you, around 10%. The other 90%, you can line them up and you can say, okay, all right, cash, credit, or check. How are we going to do this? You have not read all of Prabhupada's books. Why don't you join a reading group? You have different reading groups, you know, reading circles. You can do it at someone's home, you can do it on Skype, you can do it on the phone, but you can have circles. You can have a study partner where you study together. And in this way, you're actually enthused to read on a daily basis. Otherwise, what are we doing? It's not about lip service, it's not about ritual, it's not about going through, you know, externals. It's really about experience, about transformation. And that can only happen if we expose ourselves to this wealth of information. We're moving on to systematic training and education. Systematic training and education is essential in equipping devotees and engaging book distribution with knowledge of the subject, necessary skills to perform that service, values and attitudes consistent with a representative of Krishna consciousness. So, we were mentioning in the beginning of this course that any type of activity you do in this world, you'll have to go and study. Any type of activity you do. You want to take driving a car, you have to take the driver's test, right? Even in Bangladesh, you have to take a test for driving. You have to, right? You have to read some books, some manual, you have to know theory, and you have to know practice. You have to pass some examination. So, systematic training and education. How many of you have done Bhakti Shastri? How many of you have done Bhakti Bhagavatam? Happening slowly. It took me 25 years before I started doing Bhakti Shastri. We were reading the books, we were distributing the books, but we never really systematically studied the books. You know, with groups and homeworks and learning shlokas and thematical discussions and going in depth into different subjects. That just wasn't done. So it took me 25 years before I started doing that. As book distributors, you have the full blessings. You have the prerogative, the full authorization to study Prabhupada's books deeply. Because you have to represent. People are going to ask you questions all day long. They want you to explain to them, okay, what is pradhan? What is mahatattva? What is ahankar? What is this? What is that? What is the other thing? You have to know. At least you have to know where you can look it up. That much you have to know. So, study is an ongoing thing. It's not something that you take off and you say, okay, forget about it. And don't let school interfere with your education. It's not so much where are you enrolled, it's more that you're involved in the process of education. So feed your mind, feed your intellect, feed your heart and soul with Krishna Katha. Otherwise they will drag you somewhere else and engage you in other types of activities. Because the mind, the intellect, they want to be engaged. They want to chew on something. And if you don't give them Krishna Katha to chew on, they'll go and drag you out into the material world. Any questions on this topic? Comments, realizations? Yes.
What is the best time to distribute the books?
I can't hear you.
What is the best time to experience to distribute the books?
The best time is right now. The best time is always right now. Because book distribution happens in the moment. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, but in the moment. Are you ready? Okay, we're going right now. You can walk right down here, the stairs, in front of the Goshala. There's a lot of people every day. And you just go up to them. And you smile. And you say, Hare Krishna. And they say, Hare Krishna. And then you put a book in their hand. And they'll be happy to meet you. Now in some countries, in some cultures, it's a little different. You may shake hands, you may wave, you know, whatever is the normal form of introduction. We get into that tomorrow. But you have to be ready. Do you want to know how Prabhupada distributed books? His first set of Bhagavatams, he sold it to Captain Pandey, steamship company, Jaladuta. Gave him $20. It's the only money he had, 40 rupees, non-exchangeable. $20 for one set of books. When he was doing programs in America, he ran to a college, Slippery Rocks College, and there was a professor, Larson. And Prabhupada gave a class on the Bhagavatam and on Krishna consciousness. And afterwards, he asked the professor a question. He told him, I have brought these books all the way from India for my very special friends. Would you like to have a set of books? Guess what the professor answered?
Yes.
How come? How did you know?
Because the class was good.
Because the class was good and because Prabhupada offered him friendship. He said, I brought these books for my very special friends. He qualified him. I was sitting once in Burlingame, California at the car wash. You know what a car wash is? You step out of the car, somebody washes your car, you know. And we were sitting on the bench, and there was a lady, middle-aged lady with her dog. So, Vaisheshika Prabhu, my mentor in Shiksha Guru, he turned to the lady and said, oh, that's a nice dog. What kind of a dog is that? And as soon as he asked her that question, I got up and went to the car and got the Bhagavad Gita. Because I knew if she answers that question, she's finished. She will have to take the book. What do you think? Could she resist the temptation of talking about her dog? No, of course not. She cannot resist. Oh, you like my dog? Oh, really? Oh, it's such and such a dog and this and that. I missed that part. But I came back with the book and she took the book and gave him $20. Why? Love me, love my dog. Huh? So, because he appreciated her. It's not so complicated. It's not so difficult. Turn to the person next to you and appreciate them. Say something nice. Just turn to the person next to you and appreciate them. Can you do that? We do it in groups of 3. Switch over if you haven't done yet. How did that make you feel? Great. Terrible, right? Awful. Huh? was good, right? You wanted to hear more. Oh, yeah. You got more of that stuff? Come on, tell me more, right? Give me more. I want to hear more about that, right? Sankirtan means understanding the need of that person. Everybody wants to be recognized. Everybody wants to be appreciated. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be validated. If you know this art, people will eat out of the palm of your hand. They will do whatever you ask them to do. Use it wisely. Okay? So, we're slightly shifting, but it's still the same topic. Become an ambassador of goodwill. Just try to bring this good message of Krishna consciousness to all the people that you meet. And while doing so, you will realize that a lot of people, they're quite open, they're quite friendly, they're quite, pleasant. It's the majority of the populace. They're innocent. They're just drifters. They just go along with whatever happens in life. And whoever, dominates, that's who they're going to follow. So, okay, you want me to take this book? I'll take it. Okay, you want me to do something stupid? All right, I'll do it. They're just going along with the flow. Very few people are hostile. Very few people are negative. And some people, they're very positive and very interested. So depending on how focused, how Krishna conscious, how absorbed we are, we can capture more of those innocent people and bring them towards the side of Krishna consciousness. So there is an analogy that I would like to introduce. It's the analogy of picking the right fruits. How many of you have been picking fruits? Anyone been fruit picking? Anywhere picking fruits? Yeah. So if you come to a tree and you have a ripe fruit and an unripe fruit, which one do you pick? Right. Why not unripe? Not ready.
Can't go up tree.
Why don't you just pull it really hard, and then you break the branch and you drag it home. And you keep it in your yard. Is that a very smart thing to do? No. I mean, some people do that, right? But it's not really smart. This is one piece of advice that you can write down, and it's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of trouble, a lot of grief, and a lot of anxiety in life. If somebody is negative, if somebody is hostile, if somebody is nasty, just wish them a nice day and move on. If you meet an unripe fruit, just leave it on the tree and walk away. Can you do that for me, please?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Yes. Thank you. You just saved yourself a lot of trouble, a lot of wasted time and effort. Because you can put a lot of energy into an unripe fruit, into a person who is negative, critical, hostile. And you may or may not be capable of turning them into a ripe fruit. Because their time may not have come yet. Oftentimes, what needs to happen is they need to be cooked a little more. The sun cooks the fruits, so people sometimes they need to cook a little more before they become mature, before they become ripe. So, upeksha. When you meet people who are hostile, you just separate yourself and you deal with the innocent and the favorable people. Very important point. Otherwise, you really become distressed and your life can become quite miserable if you're trying to deal with negative people and make everybody favorable. It's not going to happen. Somebody will always disagree. Have you noticed? Yes. As a matter of principle, somebody will always disagree. Even if what you say is perfectly legitimate and shastric and truthful, and your intention are completely honorable, somebody will always object. Why are you wearing this black scarf around your neck? Why? Why are you wearing that? Right? I mean, what's the relation? What does it matter, right? That I wear a black scarf around my neck. We're talking here philosophy. We're talking about... So, Don't become discouraged when people have other ideas. Just let them go. There's 8 billion people on the planet. You know how many people that is? 8 billion people? A lot. It's about as many mosquitoes as there are in the Mayapur area, right? Approximately. There's a lot of people. So, do yourself a favor. Just look for the right fruits. And your life will be more pleasant. You'll be more blissful. Because sometimes you run after a person who is not interested, who is negative, and you miss out on people who are actually interested. Has it ever happened to you? Yes. You're going to go play now? We'll play more tomorrow. Okay. So, when a person is not interested, there's different things you can do. Some things are not so nice. Like, if a person does something that annoys you, you can just turn your back towards them. You know? How does that make you feel? You're still there? You like it? No? Okay. So don't do that to people. Okay? And sometimes you're talking to somebody and they're not responding in the way that you like them to respond. Does it ever happen? Yes. And then you just walk away from them. And they feel like you just dropped them, you know? They feel like you just disappointed them terribly. You can always end the conversation in a nice way by just proposing, would you like to buy this book? And most likely the person says no. You say, okay, have a nice day. So he said no. I didn't say no, he said no. And then you wish him a nice day and you move on. Sometimes I just ask people, how's it going? And I can see by the way how they're reacting, they're not ready to talk with me. So I don't present the book. I just say, have a nice day, and move on. So learn that art. Don't try to give a book to everybody. You have to learn how to tune into the energy and see. And after a while, you get to know how to deal with people, and how to influence people, and how to turn people towards taking books. So that being said, I want to touch a little bit about the point of dishonesty because it came up here, twisting and honesty, and I'd like to deal with this right now because today's the day that we talk about foundational stuff. This is probably the one principle and value that has caused us more trouble and more grief in the history of ISKCON than any of the others. That because of our negligence and disregard to the principle of honesty, we have created negative image towards our movement in some parts of the world, and it has cost us dearly, and we're still paying the price for it. When I came to America the first time in 1991, and I went to distribute books in the airports, people hated us, and we hated ourselves. And it's not a nice place to be in. Because we did the right thing, but we did it in the wrong place and in the wrong way. So, when something doesn't work, stop doing it. And do it in a different way. Book distribution is a wonderful activity, but you have to know time, place, and circumstance. And if you overdo some good thing, it can turn into a bad thing. So know your area and know how to behave so that people will actually have a favorable impression. I'm not going to get into too much history and too many details and too many wild stories. I'm sure you've had your fair share of own experience, and if you want to study ISKCON history, there's a lot of books which will give you detailed account of all the things that happen and transpire. Right now we're at a point where in certain countries we're not appreciated, or book distribution is not appreciated, and often it's not because the people are demons and they're very hostile or negative, but it's because we blew it. We just done a lousy job. So, as preachers and as future leaders of this society, it is our duty to make sure that us as exemplary role models and our teams are creating an environment that is very conducive for sustainable growth, long-term vision. Like you see farmers. Farmers are really looking after their land, after their crops and their animals. Why? Why are they doing that? Like you got animals there, right? You feed them, you take care of them, you take them out to pasture, yeah, you clean them, you make sure they're healthy. Why? Because you need them, because otherwise tomorrow they're going to be dead, they're gone, right? And then you can pull your own cart, right? It's not going to work. So if you want to have a long-term relationship, you have to invest time, energy, and care into that situation. So the same thing works with your preaching field. Wherever it is that you are, you have to invest sufficient time, care, and energy into those fields and into the people that are working those fields so that they can actually have a sustainable future. Otherwise, they simply won't be there. And you can write that down. Whatever is not sustainable will not sustain. It's kind of logic, isn't it? If it's not sustainable, it will not sustain. It will not continue. So if you want to go on in a lifetime of Krishna consciousness, you have to find a way, a means to move in your life in a Krishna conscious way so you can actually go on. So, this honesty doesn't mean you're adjusting the truth according to time, place, and circumstance, like to some and not to others. So the question was about twisting the truth, honesty, how far can we go, what is permissible, what is not permissible. If you know Krishna, and you sincerely want to share Krishna, that is the truth. And everything else is dishonesty. So you can tell people, yes, these books are about history, they're about philosophy, they're about sociology, they're about relationships, they're about all these sciences. Because there's vast information and knowledge in these books. But don't try to hide. You know, what does it say down there? No, don't read there, you know. It's not there, you know. Don't try to hide anything. Just be straightforward, and people will appreciate that. Any questions on dishonesty?
It was also a little bit on the point of appreciating, but my question is also on the point of honesty. What's the difference between actually appreciating and just using it as a technique? Because I think I've experienced...
Yeah, what you're saying is very valid and very important. Sometimes you may say something just to flatter a person, but you don't really mean it, so it's actually a lie. Yeah. And sometimes you can praise people, but because you don't mean it, it's actually more an insult. Have you ever experienced that? Somebody comes and says something, you know, very glorious about you, but they don't mean it. And they actually use it as a way to get at you and to diminish you. So we should say what we mean and mean what we say. Otherwise it's hypocritical. You know Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu, who worked for the BBT? He was living at Govardhan, Vrindavan, and he had a quote on his desk. Would you like to know what that quote said? On his quote it said, when the inside and the outside become the same, that's when real bhajan starts. When the inside and the outside become the same, that's when real bhajan starts. That's when real preaching starts. When what's going on inside of us and what we're speaking, what we're acting is consistent, that's when we actually get traction. And I tell that to kids on the street, you know. You're making a lot of noise in your mind, you know, like the kids with the motorbikes. Have you ever heard them? Ring, 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 ring. But they're not going anywhere because they have no traction. They're not really moving. They're just making noise. And I'm sure you know a few of those people, right? So make sure that we do not fall into this category, because sometimes our mind just makes a lot of noise, or we may even talk a lot of nice words, but because they're not really applied, they're not really grounded, so we're not really going anywhere. Because we're not putting any action behind that. Does that make sense? Someone? Yes. You got a mic here. You need mics.
Just on the same topic, when it comes to like getting Lakshmi for the books, right? When you're giving someone a book and you ask for a donation, but usually people who can't pay a decent amount of donation for the book, they're worthless, but they try to sneak it for less. So is it okay to ask them? Or like, can you chip in $10 because the printing is on $10? Is it?
You're on the money already.
Because money is important.
We're on the first day here. Show me the money.
Not the same as one way on the topic, because sometimes like when I the printing is expensive, because we get it shipped from overseas.
Can we put that in the car park? Thank you. We have a car park for all these things that are valid and important, but not right now. So put whatever it is that you wanted to ask. No, just put it there. So it's out of money. It's on the car park. I don't want to get into the money topic right now because that's for later. Yes.
I don't know if it's
We're on honesty and
honesty. The
yeah.
sponsorships fall under honesty. The sponsorships fall under honesty and should go in the account.
Sponsorship.
Yeah. So
Sponsorship free books.
Free books. Yeah.
Okay, you can put that too. Sponsorship free books.
And then when it comes to marathon, I want to know how sometimes it's like this person is doing more moves and this person isn't doing more moves. How do they bring in sincerity when it comes to the marathon? Because we just want to like, oh, he's a top guy, he's doing more moves.
Okay, marathon scores competition. You're getting all way ahead of yourself. I can feel it. You guys all had way too much sugar today for lunch. It's like going too fast. We're still on day one. We're discussing principles and values. We're discussing honesty, foundational character traits. We haven't even started yet. We haven't even stopped anyone yet, you know? We're still here in the living room, you know, throwing the ball around, talking about how to be better people. Before we haven't even gone out onto the street yet. Okay? That's tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to go out onto the street. Today we're still discussing how we can become better devotees and equip ourselves better to face this scenario. Just like Arjuna, when he went out into the battle of Kurukshetra, was he equipped? Arjuna, was he equipped?
Yes.
He was the man. He had celestial weapons. He was fully empowered. From any perspective, from any point of view, he was fully capable of doing what he was about to be doing. And first and foremost, why? Because Krishna had given him the instruction. And he had accepted it. Not only was he the best, not only was he the most trained, and he had all the weapons of the demigods, he had Krishna's blessings, Krishna's desire was behind him.
You are saying that when the war started?
Yes. On the
After
battlefield.
they told him.
Not when the war started. So, Arjuna was fully equipped. If you go out and want to fight a war with a toothpick and a little shovel, you know, to make castles of sand, it's not going to work. And that's our situation right now. Oftentimes people come to this movement and after a few days we tell them, okay, go out and preach. Preach? Preach what? I haven't read these books. It don't matter. Don't worry. Just give them the books. You know, they'll take them. So send out a lot of people, but you know what? Many of them didn't come back. Many of them did not come back. And it's not a joke, it's serious. Those of us who are a little older, we know more people who have left than people who have stayed. Am I right or am I right?
Right.
And it's not because these people were not sincere. It's not because these people were rascals. It's not because these people were deviants, no. It's because we failed to train them. We failed to empower them. We failed to mentor them properly so that they would see a future in this. And the pain, the angst, the anxiety was so big that they just disappeared. That they just took off. Either from the street or one fine night. Or one weekend. So whose fault is it? Who is there to be blamed? At least 50% is our fault. At least 50%. We've lost a lot of good men and ladies. And that's just not right. You know how much time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears it takes to make one person Krishna conscious? Gallons of blood. It takes a heck of a lot of endeavor to make one devotee. So how much more time, energy, and effort should be spent in training them, and in maintaining them, and in keeping them, and in equipping them properly for their job? If I would tell you, tomorrow, lunch, you have to cook Raj Bhog for Radhamada. You know the big deities? They have big plates. There's many preparations there. How many preparations? I don't know. But I just see them all plate. You know, it's like, it takes like 2 or 3 people to carry that plate. How would that make you feel? A little anxious, right? Because you may just not be equipped to do that kind of service. So our duty is to equip ourselves and then to train, to help, to empower others so that they are equipped for the service that they're about to be performing. Because if you're going out there and you're facing people day to day, and you're facing material energy, you know Maya? Dainyesha Gunamani? Mama Maya Duranteya? You may look strong, smart, sharp. You may have all the looks and all the moves, but Maya, Durga Devi, she rides on a tiger and she carries 10 weapons in her hands. Can you outrun the tiger? No. One of those weapons is the Trishul, the trident. Adhyatmik, Adidavik, Adibautika Klesha. With this one weapon out of 10 weapons, with one weapon, she can kill anybody in this universe. She can destroy everything. You think you're going to outsmart material energy? Many people have tried. Nobody has succeeded. The only way how to succeed is to realize our minute nature. We're very small. We're tiny. If we take shelter of Guru and Krishna's order and we follow their instruction, we have a chance. Did you know that fish can not only go upstream, but they can go up waterfalls? You know waterfalls from a waterfall? Fish can go up a waterfall. You know why? Because they have taken shelter in the water. The elephant, the big animal, the strong animal gets washed away, but the little fish, they can go up the waterfalls. So if you acknowledge that you're small, that you're dependent, that you need Guru and Krishna's mercy and protection, and you take shelter. Bhakti Vibhushan is the best process of taking shelter. Every person you meet, internally, you have to bow down. You have to bow down to Krishna. Krishna in their heart. Also show that person respect. You know? You have to, it's an active practice